pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
I'm gonna pass them down.
Please. Secretary, please.
Ms. Harper?
Here.
Mrs. Seck?
Here.
Mr. Kasanovich? Mr. Harris?
Here.
Mr. Tate?
Here.
Mayor Farkas?
Here.
Mr. Heaton?
Here.
Mr. Little's excused today.
In fact, you don't vote these signs.
No, that's
Oh,
just
it's a
Eli
reference.
made copies for
Make
everybody.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from the previous meeting?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to accept them.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Officers report.
Okay, everyone received a copy of the police report. There were 19 calls answered in the month of May by the Beaver Falls Police Department. Chief is here for any questions that you may have. The financial report. From the general fund, we spent $26,167.73. From liquid fuels, we spent $2,374.01 for a grand total in May of $28,541.74. We had deposits and interest in the amount of $58,670.22. The balance as of May 31st, $625,863.84. The other borough accounts are listed on the last page. There is $129,713.42 left in liquid fuels. And that's the extent of the officer's report, ladies and gentlemen.
Have a motion to accept.
I make a
the report?
motion.
Motion
Second.
approved. Second by Monica. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Correspondence.
Okay, just a couple of things, and this was a phone call that I received. Tim Lutz, who is our insurance rep from H.A. Thompson, is having some personal issues and will not be able to visit with us this year on insurance. If there is anything that we need to add or anything that we need to discuss, if you would let me know, and I will give him a call and get it taken care of. Otherwise, he will just renew the policy as is.
Wasn't he just here?
Last year.
Seems like he was just here. It was last year.
Also, I got, there was a lady from WIC who called and asked, because we may have women who are eligible for the WIC program here in West Mayfield, if there was any way we could post they're having new guidelines initiated beginning the 1st of July. And she didn't know if that was something that we were permitted to put on our website in case, so she sent a flyer just, giving the income guidelines for anybody who's thinking about the WIC program. And a letter from the Census Bureau to Mayor Farkas. The U.S. Census Bureau invites your government to participate in the 2020 Census New Construction Program. The new construction program provides tribal, state, and local governments an opportunity to update the Census Bureau's residential address list with living quarters for which construction is in progress during or after March 1st, 2018, and completion is expected by Census Day, April 1st, 2020. this is a voluntary program, but we are strongly encouraged to participate for the following reasons. The federal government allocates over $675 billion in federal funds annually for infrastructure programs. Participation ensures that your government will gain valuable information that will aid in making decisions about education, health services, and housing. Participation helps to ensure an accurate population count for your government. And the only other correspondence I have, Congressman Lamb sent a list of all of the local people that he has working for him here, so if anybody needs to contact him,
Contact us.
I'll just leave that here. Okay, and that's the extent of correspondence, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Moving on. Motion to go to citizens.
I'll make a motion.
I'll
Sorry.
second it.
Calm down.
We got a house full. Not used to so much company.
I'm assuming we have to have all in favor. One citizen.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. As you came in, would you please stand, give us your name and address, and explain to us what you're here for.
These two gentlemen right here,
So whoever was first,
they were the first.
that would have been Jerry or Mike.
Jerry, you want to step up first?
I'm just here to observe.
Hi, Jerry.
Gerald Weatherly, 3608 West 3rd. One of the questions I do have is about people parking in the middle of the street on West 3rd Avenue.
That happens a lot.
We've had a couple accidents down there because of people parking in the middle of the street. I would like to know if there's anything that can be done. There's no parking signs but it's, it gets very annoying at times.
And it's worse in the dark, cause you can't see it coming out of, like, the tunnel up to West Third.
Mhm.
You get them four there and then up by you.
Mhm.
It's really dark.
Mhm.
Have you notified the police of issues?
I have not.
Okay, because they are not allowed to park on the road,
Okay.
so we need, you know, that needs to be
They're-
addressed.
They're not only parking on the road, they're parking on the wrong side of the street.
Parking facing the wrong way.
Yeah,
Yeah, that seems to be a growing theme I've noticed.
yeah.
Doesn't it have to be posted before you can cite them for being parking on the road?
Well, we have to be made aware of it, I'm not aware of it.
Yeah.
Well, not for parking on the road, I mean.
No, they're parking right on the road. They're not parking off the road.
Yeah.
They're on the
Right
road.
on the
Well, there
road.
is one house that they park part on the road, part in the yard, and then further down, they are on the road.
Yeah, and they're
So it
always
depends.
facing both
Different
directions.
ways, and
Are they residents? I mean, these people who.
I
live
don't
there?
think they're residents, I just think they're a bunch of, I come up here before, and a bunch of young kids come out, and I've told them before they wasn't allowed to park their vehicles there.
The key part of it is, if you're having this problem down there, to notify the police, and they come up and take care of what they need to take care of. If they're out on the road, I'm sure they'll have to move it, and if they get another, I don't know if you give them a warning or a citation, whichever you guys
Whatever you
do.
request.
You know, whatever you guys do, they warn them, and if they do it again, they get a citation. And there's also an ordinance on the books about parking with the flow of traffic. I don't remember the ordinance number, but I do know
That's a
it's there.
state law.
Yeah, that's.
It's
Oh, we
state
have an
law.
ordinance
That's
in
an
our books
ordinance,
too,
state law.
to reinforce
Yeah,
it.
they do it on West Ninth all the time.
Yeah,
That's why I said it seems to be a growing theme, they can't
West
turn
State
around, there's
Avenue
too much
State
gas
too.
pedal.
And with the ball field so busy on the weekends now down there, I don't know what happened with the ball fields are being leased out, from what I observed, with the amount of traffic down there. I mean, I know it's only 25 miles an hour in front of my house, but man, they're flying down there, and if these people were parked out in the middle of the street, something's bad's gonna happen down there.
Yeah, it's a potential hazard, no doubt about that, if they're sticking out that far,
Yeah,
I don't disagree.
yeah.
Probably gonna have to tell the actual homeowners, because I think a lot of that different cars down there's probably visitors, and they need to just tell them, cause you can't just go down and warn everybody that stops, you know, you gotta just start ticketing them. If they're parked illegally in the middle of the road, you don't just park in the middle of the road and go to somebody's house. You know, not on the side, there's right in the road, all 4 tires on a 2-lane road.
I say if they're parked and the residents call the police, then go down and tag them,
Yeah,
give them a ticket.
then you might not do it anymore.
Well, I know that the police department is very good at making patrols through the neighborhood. I know
Yeah.
they're very good at that. And, my appreciation to Beaver Falls Police Department for what they've done since they've taken over up there. I think they're doing a great job up there.
I agree. All right,
That's all.
Mike, I believe you would be next.
Okay, well, if I stand on it. Mike Orlowski, 100 Ross Avenue. Just touching on what Jerry said. My sister Mary was all by herself at my mom's house, 3616 West 3rd Avenue, a couple months ago. Car pulled right in front of the house. Guy got out of the vehicle. She thought she was coming in, and he just walked away. She called Beaver Falls Police Department. They said there's nothing they can do about a car being abandoned in the middle of the road. I don't know if you can touch on
Well,
this.
again, let me point this out, like as far as the parking thing, if somebody's parked halfway off the road, you guys as the borough need to make that understood as far as, you're saying we're not allowed to park on the road, period, or halfway off the road in front of someone's house. If my guys are thinking that's a parking spot, what they mean by they can't do anything, if it's a legal parking spot, they can't say, like in our city, we can't say who can park there and who can't, like it's yellow curb, yellow curb.
This was just, sorry, this was just abandoned in between the old dairy and my mom's house. The guy stopped right in the middle of the road.
Okay, a vehicle
Open the
can't be
door.
considered abandoned for less than 7 days sitting still.
What do
so-
you do? Do you move it by yourself if the police can't?
Again, by ordinance, if it's considered abandoned, like if you're saying the guy pulled up, parked right now, walked away, that's not abandoning a vehicle. If he parks a vehicle, you have to have that vehicle not move for approximately 7 days is what our ordinance reads. To
I
where
just
it-
think that's risking an
But,
accident, or, I don't know if you guys could talk about it between
If it's
yourselves.
off the road, there-
It was in the
but if
middle.
it's still on the road, if
In
it's
the
in the middle of the
middle
road
of
with
the
the wheels, then that's
Yeah, I
something.
can't, I mean, I personally can't see one of my officers coming up, well, a car, if you're telling me sitting directly in the middle of the road, that people have to drive around it, saying it just can sit there, so.
Just let you know that happened.
Yeah, I'll have
You'll
to check
follow up
into
with
that, yeah.
Okay, I got 3 more real quick. The monument, I'm an officer from the Vets Club, and we've helped clean up the monument area, money donations, time and effort. Just wondering what's going on with the plaques. Is it a money issue?
We are gonna put the plaques back up. I'm gonna get some bolts and we're putting them, I was gonna try and get them clean, but they say there's no sense in cleaning them. There was a guy up in Chippewa, one of the names was wrong, but they said what it would cost to change it, to change a letter, so we're just gonna hang them back up.
Just wondering, time flies, but it seems like it's been a few years now.
Oh, yeah. It's just hard whenever nobody's,
Okay.
you know, I'm doing it on my own, basically.
And he's getting all this done gratis, we're not getting charged anything for that.
We've been
So it's kinda
taking donations, or, you
Yeah,
know,
I just didn't
people
know
have
if you
been.
guys were hurting for money or,
It's always hurting for money.
well, I'm just saying.
We're
I
working
know
on it.
we've donated money.
It
time
should be
and effort.
fixed up, it should be done this year.
Okay, couple more real quick. I live at 100 Ross Avenue, it buys, right on the corner of Railroad, if any of you guys know where that's at. Storm drain, the road's collapsing. I feel someone's gonna come around that corner.
Is that the one at the corner of Ross and Railroad?
Yeah.
On the inside left?
It's been 2 years. Columbia Gas put flags in, the road was painted, yellow, white, green, red. Went a whole year, and now somebody else came, yellow, green, white, red, new flags. Just wondering when that's gonna be addressed. It's been 2 years.
Is it something they
Talked
dug
about
up?
that at all? Isn't that on our schedule? Yeah. I know we talked about it, it's on the schedule, but we've got some other things that
I'm
are
just,
priority that we have to get to
I'm
first.
just saying 2 years. I'm just
I have it on the board.
shoveling snow, I plow around the yellow flags, and it's.
I don't remember seeing any yellow flags on the corner, but I know if you're talking about the storm drain right at the bottom that goes under the road right out to the railroad tracks. Yeah.
And I helped the guys when they were trying to clean it, show them where it came, and they said, no, it's here. I said, no, it's
Yeah.
here.
We've been talking about getting down there to try to change that out.
Well, I'm just
Actually gonna
letting
put a new basin and everything in.
you guys know the road's collapsing in that corner. Someone's probably gonna get hurt.
Well, get out and look at that, Brian.
And my last one, just I'd like to see a show of hands who voted yes in favor of the burning ban in the council.
Well, it was passed by council.
Can
Yeah,
I see a show of hands?
I think you could probably consult the minutes. I'm not even sure who did, if it was unanimous or not, but
I don't remember either.
I
I believe it was a unanimous
Probably
vote.
was.
Yeah, it was
It was-
for burn barrels, not fire rings.
It doesn't say that.
No.
I know,
The
I-
ordinance-
yeah,
the
that's
ordinance
why
doesn't
we're
state
trying to,
that.
yeah, it was supposed to be,
The
Well,
ordinance does not state that. The
I just
ordinance
have-
states no burning other than cooking
Yeah.
fires.
I have a burn
Right.
barrel, I've burned since I've been there. I didn't even know that was passed until my daughter sent me a
No.
copy of it in February.
yeah.
Aren't you supposed to publicize?
A couple things, yeah, that I want,
was
I want to
published.
address that.
Publicized in the paper.
We duly advertised that ordinance. It was on file and it's in the time period where it needed to be advertised. We gave a copy to the Times. You could have, got that copy from Pat. There's a summary of an ordinance that is posted when we do the advertisement for the ordinance, and it says very clearly when the meeting was.
So
To
are
show
you
up to,
allowed to
excuse me,
burn?
let me finish, please, and then I understand, but let me finish what my thought is. So, that was all duly advertised, okay? The purpose behind the ordinance is, I think, something that needs to be explained. You are the constituents of this borough, and of course, these folks are gonna listen to you, okay? So what they were trying to do was qualify for, what's the number again? 904? There's a special program, and we had someone coming from the recycling center and coming here and saying there's a special program that could allow this borough to encourage recycling and composting and saving rubbish or whatever. But part of the qualification, and we can get grants on different, equipment and machinery and money and all that kind of stuff. So what part of that was, you have to pass a burning ordinance, and that burning ordinance has to be an open burning. It has to. That is the hallmark of this ordinance. Now, you can say no burning at all, not even cooking, not even anything, but what we discussed was, we'll make some exceptions. So I'll read it to you. It says, this is important, folks, to hear this. An outdoor fire may be maintained for cooking purposes using charcoal, wood, or gas fires in approved closed containers, such as metal barbecue grills with covers, covered hibachis, or commercial grills which utilize propane or natural gas for combustion. Now, what does that mean? What that means is just what it says. So the word such as and approved containers, that is open to some interpretation. So if someone has a fire ring and they're cooking a marshmallow, is that a closed container or open container? I don't know. So I'm not telling you can open burn. I'm telling you that we tried to do as much as we could to facilitate at least people doing some burning, but it has to be linked to cooking. I'm going to tell you right now.
In other
If your
words,
open
we're
burning
allowed
is
to
not-
have a fire pit?
If it's not for,
What
if
if
it's
you
not,
get a burn in
no,
the fire
you are
pit?
not. The way the ordinance is right now, you are not.
So you're talking about a bonfire?
No.
No,
No,
a fire
like
pit.
a fire ring.
If it's not for cooking purposes, no.
Gotta be for cooking.
Why do other boroughs pass the same ordinance that you pass, have a section in there that says they permit fire rings and cooking, grills? And they're getting grants. I know that for a fact.
Do you know that for a fact? Then
Yes, sir.
let me see
Both
that,
of them
because
have
I
it
got,
tonight.
I had mine approved by that same person that came and addressed us, and it had to ban
It's the
open
same
burn.
people.
And if
They're
you,
the
and if
state
you,
and
sir,
the county.
Mr. Pegg, if you present that to me,
Why don't
I'll
you get a
present that
copy
to
of
the
the
borough.
Patterson Heights ordinance?
If you, let me finish,
I'll get it.
if that happens, then I'm sure the borough would love to make that exception and
I'll
still
do
qualify
that.
for the grant. Okay?
And just to finish, if I could, was that like at the maximum that I saw, $1,000 and 90 days in jail? Cause I knew nothing about it.
What?
If I'm out there in my burn barrel and they come by and say, guess what, Mike, you're going to jail for 90 days, you're paying $1,000. I knew nothing about it, I didn't get a letter or a memo.
There's a lot of
It's
people
not on the
burn,
website
a
either.
lot of people burn like credit card statements and stuff like that, cause you sure as hell don't wanna put it in the garbage can with all the identity theft and everything else. I mean, I can see if you don't want people burning shingles and housing supplies, but if they're burning a little bit of paper, not burning garbage, I don't understand that at all. That's taken a little too far. And I don't think I'm the only one here.
No, it was some council members, Bob Tate expressed his reservation as well, that, you know, what would happen and how the citizenry may react. But the bottom line is, from my perspective, this is what it says. Now I'm gonna just turn it over to the council, and you know, they have to listen to you as their constituents, and they have to make the decision.
What was required to meet the state's.
The DEP, didn't DEP have to approve this?
They did.
I believe the DEP did have to
I
prove
had to send this in.
in order for us to get into that program, so we can try to get some money back at the end of the year.
So are we gonna be required to recycle now?
Recycling is voluntary. It's absolutely voluntary.
How does that work?
Funny you should mention that. We're,
I mean,
We're having
they don't
a-
pick up
what we-
recycles.
what we have is we're calling it the second Saturday. So the second Saturday every month, right here at the garage, and we had it this past weekend as the inauguration, but obviously it didn't really get publicized as well. We have volunteers that are gonna come here and accept corrugated cardboard, newspaper, regular paper, number 1, number 2 plastic, aluminum and metal food containers.
Glass.
Glass has to be
Glass.
totally intact
Jars.
and food grade only.
Yeah.
We take it down to Bruner's. Bruner's takes the cardboard for free. The commingled, they charge $50 a ton, but we didn't bring that much, so they sort of waived the fee on it. If we would add recycling to the borough collection pickup, that would boost our costs, and I don't think anybody really wants to pay extra for that. On top of that, the borough would have to pony up for those big recycling bins. Granted, we could apply that expense to the grant money for the following year, but in the meantime, we would have to buy 500 recycling containers.
But there are grants available for that.
We have to pay for it this year, and then we apply it to the grant for the next year, and then maybe they'll pay us back. Starting the grant program doesn't bring us a flood of money, but it starts the money coming in.
It's gonna be small the first year,
Small at
hopefully
first,
grow
and
as the
then we
program.
show improvement, our reimbursement gets higher and higher and higher. There's other communities that are getting 6-figure returns on their grant, on their recycling program. That would be like Chippewa, Beaver, big communities that have full recycling, you know, they've spent a lot of money and a lot of time to get that together. We're trying not to spend any borough money to get this program together. But it hinges on, based on the DEP, the no burning.
So if you have a burn ring that's contained, make sure there's a bag of marshmallows.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I might
cooking.
have a bag of hot
That's
dogs that have
cooking.
been out there for 6 months, but they'll be
As
there.
long as you're there.
But you're,
But it has to be in a contained
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have a metal burn ring to burn like wood for like a campfire.
right.
that's, yeah, there you go. You're having, if you're making marshmallows and stuff, that's perfectly legal.
Bill, may I add something?
Sure, go ahead, sir.
One evening, all this smoke was up, I live right behind the fire station, all this smoke was coming up over the hill. I went down, I talked to the guy, I found out who he was. He was burning logs like this in that ring.
They weren't split.
They weren't split.
Well, they're not gonna burn anyway.
Right. No, it was smoking like crazy. I never go down there without identifying myself and telling him that he's in violation of burning ordinance in that particular case. You don't burn them big logs and,
No.
you know. Some people, I've had people tell me go to hell and everything else. I had a guy threaten me one time, said the next person you'll talk to will be the police department. I'm not gonna argue with you. So we're
Okay.
damned if we do and damned if we don't, believe me.
Alright. Who's next? Or is everybody basically here for Bernie?
This gentleman was here, and these people were here too. Yeah.
Oh, Reed, yeah, Reed.
Reed was here next.
Reed,
Go ahead.
Reed.
104 Ross Avenue. I'm here about the travel trailer parks on Railroad Street. It's been there for 3 years, has never been moved. The licenses are outdated, it's uninspected. Can you do something about it?
Chris was supposed to get out and talk to them last week
But
and have them
No,
move that. I don't
the
know
first
if he's
thing's gonna
talked to him
happen,
yet or
He's gonna
not.
start bringing them old automobiles down there and parking them too.
No, he's not.
Well, he ain't. I know them.
Chris was going down, cause I contacted Chris. He was going down to talk to the guy. I don't know if he's talked to him yet or not to tell him he has to move that trailer.
All right.
Yeah, somebody else had already brought that up, last month
And
or whatever.
right across the street, there's a field, the grass is this high.
You know, there's a lot of
Yeah,
places around
Mike
here, grass is
my
that high.
neighbor. He cuts his grass, I cut mine. We try to keep the neighbor, but the guys across the street, there's 2 houses, they cut maybe once a month.
What's their address?
101 Ross
101.
Avenue, and I don't know what the other is.
It's 101.
Mike,
101
how high is the grass across the street?
At least a couple of feet.
Are they living there?
Yeah.
Are they still living there?
Oh, yeah, there's
Okay.
people living there. And the best part,
We
they
will
drive
also
through,
address that.
tear it all up, bring the mud out on the road, but that trailer's gotta go.
We will also address the grass.
The ordinance states
thank
no
you.
grass higher than 6 inches.
Is that the old
6 or 7.
John Edwards' house across from Regis? Okay,
Alright, who was next?
trying to think of address.
How about me?
Mr. Peggs,
Yeah.
next.
Richard Pegg, 3812 High Street Extension. A year ago, I was here at council, and you promised me you'd send a letter to the property owner in regards to water drainage.
For
Is
3808.
that one above you?
Yeah.
You ought to
And
see it now.
I
I've got like a 3-foot V in my hillside, and I spent $5,000 almost on excavation. And you guys didn't, that was almost 2 years ago.
Well, they went up there and they put
Yeah.
drain lines in.
Yeah, for the apartments.
No,
but-
they did.
But
Yeah,
Pullman,
no,
Pullman
we're
next
talking
door,
about the property next door.
their
Oh,
French
I don't-
drains are pointing at our property. We were told it the last time we were here about it, that you guys would send him a letter to telling him he's not allowed to point them directly at a neighbor's property, that they have to go to the street.
They used
I
to
think,
have a.
I think we went to them and talked to them about it.
Well, I remember they were supposed to send a letter to the property
What's the
owner
address
who's out
again?
of state.
3808, his name's Bill Pullman, he lives in Lansdowne, Pennsylvania. Well, at least that's his address in Beaver County, but I was told he lives in Florida now. Cause it's a rental property.
That's where the lady lives.
But
That
there's
ran
nothing
over
we
her
can
name.
do
Okay.
about that, is there?
I'm trying to figure houses so I know.
But his French drains, when it rains, I got a river coming down the damn hill, right at my garage. I spent like almost 50 grand total, and now I got a V in the hillside, and my French drain's covered, and that mud's going into my drain, backing up my French drain. It pushed all the gravel off my French drain. I have pictures of it, because there's too much water going. I didn't put in a city drain. I put in a 4-inch French drain.
Their whole backyard is saturated.
Yeah, she can't even get the grass cut because the guy buries the
I don't know
mower
what
every
the
time he
water
gets
problem
back.
is over there.
We can send them a letter and tell them that they're not allowed to direct water to your property.
They need to, it needs diverted somewhere else.
And
It has
Well,
to go
what
to the
happened to
street.
the
That's
letter
really
that
about all we
you
can do.
promised me you were gonna send them a year ago, the property owner? You
Did
never
we
sent
send
it.
him one?
I don't know whether
I
we did or
think-
not.
I
I
think
thought
they
we
waited.
did, but
I think
we'll
you're
double
right.
check. If we
It
did, we'll
just seems
definitely
like-
take care of it.
It seems like everything falls by the wayside.
And whatever happened to the drain at the bottom of the road?
Nothing?
And there's one catch basin that needs cleaned out for the last 7-8 months.
Which one's that?
On High Street, right next to Rosie's house. And
Yeah,
it's
and the
causing
grate-
water running out.
And the grate fell in the other day and the postmaster or postman almost got stuck in it.
And it's starting to erode the edge of the asphalt
You
road.
know where that's at, Brian?
Yeah, that actually needs a new catch basin.
Yeah.
Well, it's in bad shape, the concrete's cracked and the.
Where is it?
I actually cleaned it out a week ago, but the
High
catch
Street
basin,
Extension.
What's that?
I cleaned it out a week ago, but it's like
This one's
Like a
still
homemade
plugged up. I
catch
got
basin.
pictures of it just
needs
the
a
other
right
day.
one put in.
Must be the
Is it a
wrong
smaller
catch
basin?
basin.
Yeah,
The one at Rosie's.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they got. And we'll have to
we
look at
probably
that.
have.
And it's washing out the asphalt road.
Yeah, in front of our mailbox, it's coming down and it's starting to lift the asphalt on High Street Extension.
We thought it was starting
Okay.
from the
And I wanna thank you for putting our street light on the list, have the new light put up.
You're welcome. Anything else? Okay, who's next?
Yeah, Brent Robinson, same address, 3812 High Street Extension. Not so much now, but during the school year, I know High Street is marked no parking either side. High Street Extension used to be parking sign, no parking. There's no signs anymore. I don't know why they were taken down. But all along there, you have people parking on the road. In the morning for the bus, you have people come from other addresses to have their kids get on that bus. Well, they're parking in the road and they don't wanna move, and if you can't even get to your house.
There used to
High
be-
Street Extension is about, what, 3/4 of the width of High Street. So when someone parks on there, it's a hell of a time to get around, and then Burns is parked partway on the road and partway in the grass.
I can't understand why they took down the no parking
There
sign.
should be no parking
I don't
signs all the
remember.
way up
We
and
didn't take
down.
anything down to my knowledge.
Huh?
I don't remember, since I've been here, I don't know if any signs
There was
coming
one
down.
There's been
was
there,
in
I
there.
know. I know
It's
for a
not
fact
there
for the
now.
last 30 years or 20 years.
We'll have to
But
look
there's
to see if
one
there's
woman
something-
who works
has
at
an ordinance on the
Beer
books
Valley
already.
Federal Credit Union. She's like, I used to live up there. I'm like, well, why do you take your kid? Well, it's safer for me. I'm like, yeah, but it's causing everybody else a headache. So if you don't live here, why the hell is your kid catching the bus here? And there's a parking lot right there. I mean, if you're only there for 10 minutes, pull in the parking lot to the apartments.
Yeah, 'cause there's a lot of room there for
There's
her
a
to
ton
pull
of
over.
room.
Yeah.
Pull in a driveway if you know someone. But don't block the damn road. I mean, it's every morning.
When
And
was the
every
sign taken
afternoon
down?
around 4. It's been gone for a year or two now.
Was it hit, maybe?
No, it was right
No.
beside the telephone pole where you put that big pole in across.
So
the
we need to
driveway.
get a new sign put back up.
But you need one
Well,
at the
we have to
top
make sure it
too,
was
'cause
there
as
first.
soon as they turn the
We'll have to
corner,
check,
you just
'cause
park
you have to
your
have an
car.
ordinance for those.
On High Street,
Yeah,
the High
but if it
Street
was there.
Extension
Right
right
at the
there in
end
the
of the
corner.
Yeah, that is ridiculous how people park.
I don't
So
disagree.
that the kids-
And
I like
again,
when
I'll
they
tell you the
park on
same
each
thing, if we're
street.
parking out on the street, call
Yeah,
the
it's
police.
the same thing, cause I mean, you really can't go off the road there because there's pine trees and a yard and.
You have to call the police to have them enforce that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
mornings
but
I
there's
can't.
no
We can't come up there and make them move, you're gonna have.
No.
There's
but I mean-
signs on that road though, no parking. Now there's no signs for some reason.
We're gonna double check
They're
to see
down.
what
We
happened
need to
there.
get signs up there, cause I mean, some of them are kinda ignorant about it. It's like, look, she can't get to work in the morning half the time, cause she goes up there and there's cars parked there. And then I take her to work, I come back, and that's the time the elementary kids are going, and they're parked all up and down the road. And I don't care if you go there to meet, to put your kid, just don't
Even
block the road.
even
That's-
if the sign wasn't there before, if these people are parking there and you can't get by, you gotta do something about it.
And
Well,
High
if they're
Street
not
has
parking there
signs that say no
illegally,
parking, and
they should
Mary
be
Well,
Jane
if you
would
can't
have
get
parked
around them,
every
they're
weekend
illegal.
parked on the
That's my
road.
point,
Never-
call the police and have them come and take care of it.
Cause High Street gets a lot of parking too from its citizens, and they all have driveways. I don't know why they're parked on the
Yeah,
I mean,
like, the
road.
only
Cause
thing
I
I can tell
plow
you, if
half
they're
of them
parked
in the morning,
illegally,
so I know they all.
call the man. That's all I can tell you, I mean,
Alright,
we'll check in on the no parking signs, to find out.
Can we rewrite?
If
well, at
we
least
can
it's
find,
something
if
you
you
can look,
find
you
out
can
where
tell
they
them,
were
hey,
taken
look,
down at.
there's a sign right there that says, you can't even tell them that now because there's no signs.
Understand? Okay,
Get a sign up there, okay.
who's next?
Right here,
Okay,
Jim Brooks, owner of Jim Brooks Auto Body, 4500 West 8th Avenue, Beaver Falls. I have a question. I'm looking at a building that's for sale. The address is 3713 West 2nd Avenue, across from Pig Energy. I was told by the realtor that it's zoned light industrial. Chris Lemon said it was zoned commercial. Possibly, if the financing goes through, I'd like to move my body shop from up here down to that area, because it's a much bigger building. So of course, I'd like to know if I'm able to.
what is the address where you wanna move it to?
It's 3713 West 2nd Avenue. It's
Was
like
that
across
John Zeus's old garage? It used to be a machine shop for B&W or something way
Yeah.
back in, okay, it's a, I know where it's
Shouldn't be a
Yeah.
problem, should there?
Yeah, so,
Find our uses. Where's our map? Find it on the map.
One said
Let
it's
me know how it's
commercial,
done.
one said it's industrial.
Well, that's what we're gonna
That's what
determine
they're
right
trying to
now.
determine.
Well, if Zeus
No,
had
the
his
map should be
machine
up there.
shop in there,
That's
why
what
was
it is.
it?
I'm
That
gonna look
wasn't
at
It
a
says
machine
C1
shop.
business.
Zeus didn't
Well,
have a
no, it
machine
was
shop,
a,
he
it was
just,
an automotive
no,
garage,
he
right?
just stored his
Third
cars
right
in
here.
there.
Second.
What's
He
that
didn't
big
use
down
that
here
as
in
a-
the green?
C1, business.
Business?
C1 business.
Yeah.
All right, I'm trying to find, oh, here it is, okay.
C1 business is what it's up.
C1 business, so it can be for banks, business services, funeral homes, medical clinics, offices, personal services, public building use, retail, and then as a conditional use,
This is C1.
billboard, community use, public building use, vehicle sales, service. So there
There
it
you
is.
go, service.
So it's gonna be a conditional use, so there might be a couple hoops, but, we can work with you.
So you'll be able to paint,
What's that?
be able to paint, you know, paint booth, I'll put a paint booth in there, paint cars.
I
As
don't.
long as you provide,
I mean, you
follow the emission
same thing is
guidelines.
happening all the time up there. You can't have noxious odors emanating from your building. Same thing, you still have to
Yeah,
abide
you
by that.
have
That's
all
a
that.
general
You're all up to date with
ordinance.
EPA
Yeah.
standards.
As long as you have the emission
So-
guidelines for that
Yeah,
spring
he's,
stuff.
he's good with all that.
So now the next question is, like if I wanna do any petitioning off inside the building, is there any permits that need to be, I need to purchase? I mean, what's it gonna take to get an occupancy permit?
Well, we're gonna have Lemon?
Chris Lemon.
Yeah, we're gonna have Chris Lemon work with you on that. So maybe offline, as we say, we'll hook you up with Chris Lemon and we'll show you that whole process, if you do or don't.
Yeah, I actually talked to Chris and he said that he'd have to talk to you.
Okay. Well, I think it's gonna be a structural improvement, so they're gonna have to go through code systems, if you ask me. So, even if it's
It all
not,
depends on what you're doing. If you're
MDI
doing,
or somebody.
if it's
Well,
just
whoever
putting
it
up a
is.
couple walls in a building, you wouldn't have to.
That's what I'm saying,
because
it's
you're
gonna
not-
depend.
You're
Chris
not
should-
doing anything structural.
No.
No, you don't,
There's
you're all right
already,
for
there's
that.
already like an office in there, a lunchroom.
No, you don't
you know.
need anything for that.
You know what I always say, don't spend $1 billion on architectural rendering, but just show us what you wanna do.
Yeah.
If you
Give me a
look,
call.
so, yeah, Bob's a good guy, and we'll talk and we'll see if we have to or don't have to.
His code
And I'll even look
system
at the
on-
conditional use and say,
What's that?
His code
you know,
system
off-street
on
parking or any
Saturday?
goofy
No,
stuff
we don't
like
have code
Yeah,
system
there's a
anymore.
lot of
I
parking
think it's
there, it's all
MDI.
fenced in.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
So one other
Yeah.
question, if the financing wouldn't go through, cause I'm probably gonna have to sell 4500 West 8th Avenue that I've been there for 25 years. I'm probably gonna have to sell that to purchase this, mammoth building. If I can't, if I'm not able to get this, building, what's the procedures if I wanted to add on to the building that I'm at right now, the location that I'm at right now?
And correct me if I'm wrong, you're a non-conforming use kind of guy, right? Didn't you come around because it was there
I was
prior?
here in
We
94.
talked about this
Bothered,
before.
yeah.
Yeah, I was in here in 94 before there was any zoning.
So, once again, I'm not gonna make a rendering here, but there are rules with expanding your footprint and changing the characteristics of the building, and once again, we can talk. Hang out after the meeting and you'll get me information, we'll talk about all that, okay?
Okay, who is next? Good.
John Barris, 705 Lennox Avenue. I've got a water issue, and my backyard has turned into a swamp. I'm getting runoff off of Lennox and off of Knapp Street, coming down, running down the hill. I was wondering if there's any way that they could put a blacktop curb up along the side of the road of some sort to sort of
We just
divert
redid
the
all
water.
those drains 2 years ago, then we went down Harbison,
Yeah.
ran all the way down to Lennox, then we did all that.
Right. There's nothing on Lennox.
No, nothing, we didn't go down Lennox, but we ran across Harbison because there used to be an outfall that went down the hill and hit Lennox, and we stopped that.
I'm getting the water off of Lennox, running down into my yard. I got a 180-foot property along that runs
I'm trying
parallel.
to figure out where you're
to
at. Are
Lennox.
you at the bottom on the right?
He's right above Jim Bostek's.
Yeah.
Mayfield Alley, between Lennox and Mayfield Alley.
Yeah.
By Rhonda Romoldi's house.
I'm not
Next
good
door to
with people
Simon.
names.
Yeah,
I didn't
next
catch your
door
name,
to-
I'm sorry.
next door to
John
Becky?
Barris,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
B as
trying
in
to
boy, ER.
give him a location.
Thanks.
Bob, you were down there this,
Yeah, it's pretty wet.
and It's even wetter now. You told me you'd come down and put a drain in. for
Everybody's
me.
pretty wet
Dried
right
up.
now with the storms we're getting.
not gonna
Come
dry
down
up.
and
No,
dump.
it's not gonna dry up until we stop the water from running down the hill.
Yeah, well, right now it's bad too. I mean,
Bad
it's just
everywhere.
like last year.
Yeah.
With them heavy
It's
storms.
every 2 days, you get 2 days of sunshine and 3 days of rain, so,
But if I don't stop it from coming down, it's never gonna dry up.
yeah.
It's only getting worse.
We've lived there for 46 years, and until the last 2 years, we didn't have water come down that hill. Now, you can't even get the lawnmower through, it's underwater by the big tree down there.
Yeah, it's wet.
It's happening a lot all over the borough, because we're getting downpours, we're not getting your easy all-day rain.
But Lennox is,
All
the
down.
road's mounded, so you got water running down both sides.
Yeah, all
of
roads
it.
are mounded like that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of coming off of Nape Street, it's coming right down into the,
And Nape Street has a drain catch at the bottom.
yeah, but it
On the
runs
right.
right off the road
Bypasses
onto
it.
Harbinson and onto Lennox.
It's bypassing it.
It's not going in the drain.
Some of the
Especially
drains
It
with
only
hard
takes so
rain.
much, you know
Some
what I
places
mean?
the drains
And
are
that's-
higher
wait.
than the road, so it's gotta get pretty deep.
No,
before
this
you
drain,
get
that
to-
drain's definitely lower than the road. I live on Naps, that's why I know.
Yeah, 'cause that's where the little.
Well, you're
boy-
catching it on one side of the road.
Yeah, it caught on that side.
West side.
We'll look to see if there's anything we can do.
Yeah, I mean, even if, some kind of curb or something to just keep the water from running
Right.
down the,
Careful you
Field
don't divert it
blacktop curve.
somewhere
Huh?
else. Careful you don't divert it somewhere else, that's the problem.
Yeah, that's what, you're just gonna move it down the line.
little bit.
We'll have to see what's feasible to do. Next?
I'm also
Oh.
here representing the West Mayfield vets. We're gonna donate a POW flag to the Veterans Monument down below. They said, I
Thank you.
think Louis Little said that he was having trouble finding one, but
Yeah, Louis asked me
Good.
about it.
Everything he was asking about. Thank you very much.
okay.
Thank you,
Be put
John.
up.
I planted flowers there, but I couldn't find red, so I put all white up there.
I don't know that that flagpole is capable of holding 3 flags, so you may wanna take the state flag down and put that MIA flag up, POW flag up, I don't know.
Couldn't we put a third flag on there?
I don't know if that pole's high enough, Bob.
What's the look?
Yeah. But, Louis asked me about a POW flag, I mentioned it to our board at our last meeting, and
Yeah, for me too.
that's where we're
Yeah,
donating
that's
the
cool.
flag.
And I had another question. I was wondering, is there any plans this year to do any tar and chipping on the roads?
Tar and chipping, no.
No.
What we are doing, you wanna talk about it, Eli? You know it better
Yeah.
than I do.
Our roads are in poor condition, and you can't tar and chip roads in poor condition.
Waste of money.
Horrible, yeah.
Yeah, if you tar and chip is a thin layer that will break. We could spend the money and tar and chip, and it'll break, but it'll be nice and clean with the breaks in it. So what we're going to be doing this summer, when it's not monsoon season, we'll be doing a lot of crack filling and milling up some of the horrible patched areas, and refilling that, and then going back in with the crack seal around that fill. We're trying to identify roads to remediate this year, so that next year we can tar and chip over those roads that are repaired, give them a fresh top surface. By the same token, we'll work on the next batch of roads to crack fill, mill up, refill, replace, and do that. So we've got plans for it. We discussed that at the last meeting. We're gonna start working as soon as we can get a
Stop
dry day.
training.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we have significant liquid fuels funds coming from the state. We do pay a premium tax rate on our fuels, but that money comes back to the municipalities based on the miles of road that we have. And that money must only be spent on the road repair. So we're gonna be spending some money and putting down some fix on the roads. Brian and Jeff have been out, patching potholes left and right.
That's
Granted,
that's
it's
a
the cold,
Band-Aid, yeah.
it's the cold patch. The cold patch is fine, it keeps you from going into a rut and blowing out a tire. But like you said, that's a Band-Aid. So we'll be cleaning that up and getting it a little better. And then once the road surface is remediated, next year we'll start on a tar and chip. I had contractors tell me, yeah, we'd be more than happy to come out and tar and chip your roads, and you're gonna hate us because next year they're going to open up again. We also have several, funny, you mentioned it, road damage based on water drainage. And until we can remediate that water drainage, make sure that water gets diverted into the storm sewers, we can fix it, but the water is going to come right back to it and cause more damage, so. We got some work ahead of us.
So is it your liquid fuel money you have, that's all for roads, you say?
Yeah.
How much of that is in our budget?
Well, it's not just roads, it's also what we have.
Well, roads,
For
we
our
have to do
salt
our
stuff.
roads,
that's
our
winter
winter,
time.
our winter
Not
road
road
maintenance,
repair.
so all of that too.
That's on top of the total, the 625,000?
No, it's a
That's the
totally different fund.
That's a different fund.
We get approximately $55,000 from the state every year for liquid fuels.
Okay.
And if you look at our prices, our salt went crazy last year. We went from paying like $58 a ton to $100 a ton. And we gotta have salt to do the roads.
Oh, I understand, yeah.
Yeah, so we have to make sure we leave money in the budget for that. All right?
Okay, I think I'm done.
Okay, who's next? At that corner. Name, please?
Christine Barkfeld, 1015 37th Street Extension, corner of Rock Avenue and 37th Street. High Street's, corner of High Street and 37th Street, street light hasn't been replaced yet. Any clue when that was gonna be replaced?
It's on the list for Duquesne Light, we have several on our list. And then I've been in contact with Duquesne Light, and they're doing the rest of our LED lights around the borough here.
Okay.
Plus, we're adding some more in some areas
that's
that
another thing.
we are adding some more that are like in dark areas when I rode around.
Yeah, like Rock Avenue, 37th Street, that corner.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for my dusk to dawn light, you can't see. There was a car broke down there. I had to call my cousin to come down in his car to see what was wrong with his car because it was pitch black over there. So there's a telephone pole there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not one from Rock Avenue all the way down to past the old church. They put a new one there from 37th Street down to Bowden Street by Danny Burns. That's the only other street light is M2 down there. There was nothing from my house to Bowden Street.
Okay.
Yeah, what they did initially was replace what was there.
Huh?
What they did initially was replace what's there.
Right.
And now we're gonna go back and try to add a few.
Yeah, but if it
missed
wasn't for
something,
my
too.
dusk to dawn
Yeah,
light,
they
it's
missed
completely
a
black
couple.
there. And I have solar power lights in my yard because the street light that's there, you can't see, there's nothing out there. We had possums, raccoons, everything running around there. And when I had my dog, I couldn't even take her out because there was raccoons and possums, and she was this big.
Right.
So it was like I had to figure out, I had to go buy another dusk to dawn light. I went through three of them in the last 4 years. Because I think the cold air coming up from the park is killing them. So there's a good breeze that comes up there with the wind, and I think it's destroying the eyes.
Okay.
So yeah, it's really dark. If it wasn't for there, you couldn't see nothing.
Alright.
Oh, they were even.
You have that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, got it down.
That it?
Got one more thing. Just want to,
You're done.
whoever's in charge of the park, down there is doing a tremendous job. Park looks really great down there. Community park.
Monica, Bradley, Jeff.
I got a question too. 37th Street, do you guys petition the state to fix that? Cause I mean, that's like.
They're gonna
I feel
pay
like
you
I'm
next
driving-
year.
Next year
I feel like
it's
I'm
on the
driving
list.
through Baghdad
You
when I
called.
go.
I made a call about that bridge.
Yeah.
Remember the hole in the bridge?
Yeah.
As soon as I called, they were there the next day patching it, but you have to make the phone call.
37th Street,
No.
37th Street is on
That's a
PennDOT's list
state
for
road.
replacement.
Everybody has to make
next year.
phone calls. If
Next
everybody
year.
made
Next
phone
year.
calls, then they'd come out.
We were there today.
Do one at a time, guys,
They
please.
did a little bit patching.
PennDOT is going to block
Yeah, they're doing
off
patching, but it's gonna be
37th Street.
repaved next year.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what
it's
they're
on
doing.
your
I got
list for
paperwork
next
here.
Is
year.
West 10th or whatever Project Road, is that on our list to do? Cause that's another bad one. going up into the West Mayfield Village.
Yeah,
Right at the opening?
That road's
that's
horrible.
That's all water drainage. If you go there after the rain, the spots that are the wettest after everything else is dry are all the damaged spots, because that's where the water drains. So until we fix that water drainage and divert that off,
Yeah, cause you guys
But
patch it, it's like, not
Yeah.
even a month later, it's back to what it was.
because that water keeps coming in and destroying it. But
vicious
that
cycle.
whole section's gonna need, serious work.
Okay, who's next?
Just one more question, this is for the chief. Anything you can do with the speeding on Rock Avenue, it is getting bad. There's two little kids that live at that church, the old church. They're 3 and 1 year olds. And they're going down Rock Avenue 50 miles an hour. No stopping, and just Saturday, they were drag racing down Rock Avenue.
Would you call the police when this was?
I didn't see them drag race, my cousin, but I
Just so
did.
everyone here knows, we got 3 cars out of shift.
But I'm saying.
If I hire 5 more, we can do all the parking and the speeding. I can put up a set of speed lines down there.
Yeah, that seemed to help for a little bit, but you can take.
I got
do you
one
have a-
guy that does all of our speeding per shift. If I'm aware of a problem area, I'll write it down. I'll have my guys set up a set of speed lines.
You guys can even park on the side of my driveway an undercover car.
The
Yeah,
thing is,
4
we have-
o'clock on, they're going through their 50 miles an hour.
Whenever we set up a speed line area, we have to be so many feet from an intersection, from a stop sign, so we have to find a spot that'll fit as far as like within 500 feet on each
Yeah,
side.
I seen you
So, I mean,
watching 37.
all I can do is I'll send the captain up there tomorrow to look at the area to see where it would be feasible to put a set of lines in as close as we can to where your area is
Yeah.
speeding.
Cause
and
he
go from
walks
there.
his little 3-year-old down that road, and they're, I keep telling them, be careful, because they just literally fly down there. I mean, it is bad.
7 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
No, from 5 on. It is bad. I mean, they're coming down to where they're going on 2 wheels to turn down on Bowden, and like the games on Saturday, no one ever stops at them stop signs. There's 15, 16 cars straight through that stop sign, going down the park for games. And they're all coming back up, and I don't know if they still have the second shift, like when the games come in, cars are coming up Bowden, they're going down, and they're just going like this, and I sit there and cringe, cause I'm waiting for it to happen. The car comes speeding down there, and it's gonna cream them cars right in front of that old church, and somebody's going to get hurt.
I will address it
I mean, it's
tomorrow.
really bad.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they wanna say?
It's gonna happen.
I don't know if these guys do.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been out of West Mayfield since 1969. Dave Kidd, 3730 West Fifth Avenue. Just came back 5 years ago and came to a meeting to see what's going on. Just sitting here tonight, find out a lot of things that happened. Bob working on a memorial down there, I often wonder what happened to that. The guys in the street department, they've been good on the snow. In fact, they filled the potholes in the alley below my house, so don't have to dodge in. The other thing we talked about was 37th Street. I was gonna bring that up. Cause all the potholes and everything the way it's been on PennDOT, to me, I always comment, I said, this is a DOI training ground, you know, driving like this. But, give thanks to everybody that's doing their job here, and that's my Pat, and mentioned the burning ordinance. So outside of an introduction, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Bill?
William South, West, 4307 West 4th Avenue. I still feel that, when yins do the ordinances and that, new ones, we should send letters out to these people. Not everybody has paper, get the newspaper, or I mean online, all that. How much does it cost to do that? I mean, just to kind of let the people know.
Well, we got about 550 homes.
At
I mean,
55 cents.
everybody here is taxpayers. I mean, I'm not, but I mean,
What
we
about
need to,
this-
we need to get information out to these people, so it's not.
What about the digital sign in front of the fire
Yeah, or
department? They run
something, just
something
to
on
help
there
it out.
saying, hey, we're gonna have a new ordinance coming up. Contact your counselor, or someone, something like that. Cause there are a lot of people who are on social media and had no idea about that.
And a lot of times we try to put little things in when the fire department goes around with letters.
Yeah.
Like that one year we put that little flyer in there. We tried to do it, but that's getting slow.
I'll
over there,
volunteer
too.
my daughter to deliver letters, ain't that?
I just feel that, I mean, a lot of people ain't hearing anything and then they're coming here and complaining, but if it's out there, I mean, I don't get the paper, I read it online, but a lot of other people here don't have it.
We heard about the burning ordinance from someone outside of West Mayfield. We didn't know anything, and I looked it up on the website, West Mayfield Borough website, and I couldn't find anything about it.
Oh, it's there. It's there.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on there.
It
My
may be
son,
now, but it
my
wasn't
son
then, I
runs that
guarantee.
website. You contact my son, he'll get it in. People complain all the time. He tells this council, council does not give him the proper information to put on the website.
Okay.
But tell you the
Why
truth,
don't
he complains about it all the time. If you want this
Why
stuff
do we
put
not give
on,
him the proper
Yes, we do.
information?
Well, the bottom
We
line
take him
here,
to pay for it.
cause
the
he
bottom
should.
line here is, we talk about and we do a lot of stuff here. And that's why the meetings are open and anybody can come to any meeting at
Right.
anytime we have a meeting, everybody's welcome. If you wanna see what's going on, come to the meetings.
Some of us work afternoon shift and we can't make it.
You can't come then. You have to send a representative.
I can now because I work daylight in summer, but I'm just letting you know, a lot of people work 4 to 12. They can't make these meetings.
No, even a sandwich board on 37th Street would be enough to alert a lot of people, cause I mean, that's like a main thoroughfare for everything. You know, something that says, you know, we're gonna discuss a burning ordinance, something that's gonna affect everybody in the borough. I mean, not every issue affects everyone, but something like that, I know Facebook people were, they were hot to say the least, and I was one of them, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, I mean.
On the bright side, you won't have to smell your neighbor's leaves burning.
I don't have any.
When you're out trying to have a picnic and the neighbor's burning leaves.
My neighbor sucks him up because he brings a borough trucker on. We don't burn leaves on my street.
I do get a lot of smoke up my house when the neighbors would burn leaves down below.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah,
I
'cause
never
you're on
liked
the hill
that.
too.
Yeah, but that's medical. Oh, that's a different kind of
Right.
burning leaves, okay.
That doesn't bother me.
All right, all right.
CBD?
Anybody else have anything? If not, we're gonna return back to business.
Thank you all for coming out.
Yes, thank you all very much, appreciate your time, and we will deal with what we can. Motion to return to general business. All seconded it? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right. Hey, Bill.
No, you gotta do all the business.
What did I miss?
All the business.
You can move on down.
I missed this one.
You're an amenda?
Yeah, motion to go back to regular business, then say old business. Hold on. Give it guys some time to vacate.
Yeah, they can stay around, you gotta leave.
Guys, if you're gonna have conversations, you have to go outside.
Yeah, we need you guys, if you wanna talk, go ahead and go outside and discuss it. Huh? You good.
That's what we want, to come to the meeting. Let us know the grounds.
Yeah, I think we're safe.
I think we're safe now.
I think we're safe.
Thank you for coming in here this morning.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be busy for the next 3 weeks.
See you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're ready to move, reach out.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question. What's this?
Hold on a minute.
Oh, it's Beaver County and is filming all
okay.
public meetings now.
All
Public, all over
Hi,
Beaver
Reed.
County.
Every meeting?
Thank you, sir.
Whatever they want, it's an open forum.
All right, Wendy, old business
That explains that.
for fire and police.
Nothing, I think it all got aired tonight.
Yeah, really.
Monica, Parks and Playgrounds.
Yeah, there was a miscommunication between me and the tree guy about a tree that was cut that wasn't supposed to be cut, so I am working with him about getting seeing the new tree, the tree that's supposed to be cut, and
Correct
what,
tree.
you know, working with him on that and about getting a new estimate or what he's gonna do as far as with what was done. You know, and it, probably some of it was my fault as far as not going down and marking which tree, but I was at work trying to talk to these guys over the phone at the same time and get that, so I do take some responsibility on that, getting, you know, the wrong one, so. But it's in the works and process of
Don't get
getting
hand
it.
out.
Thanks.
Is that,
Bill.
that was that green one down at the park?
What's that?
Is that green thing down at the park, that's
Yeah,
a tree?
well, it was dead when everybody was going down and.
Yeah.
We
Five.
liven
Anything else?
we liven it up.
Well,
Yeah.
about this tree, how much,
Oh, yeah, I
did,
do.
how much did they charge for that?
$775,
Just to take the top off of that?
yes, cause it was the wrong tree. That's the thing.
So basically, the other guys might have had a lower bid than him that did the other tree, that bid the right tree.
Maybe. Mhm.
So
Well, we're
what,
gonna have to find out when he.
what are we gonna do in
Now,
this
tell
case
us.
now?
Well, that's what I said. I'm
Well, she's
talking
gonna
to him
follow
about
up.
it.
Then
She'll
we'll
follow up, see what they got,
It's being worked out
what they're
now.
gonna bid,
Yes.
what they're gonna charge.
Then we'll decide on it at the next meeting then, what to do.
Well, she has the bids, I don't think it, you know, she can take the lowest bid, I'm sure. I don't think we need to wait till another meeting.
So
We
we're
already
gonna have
agreed
to
to have
pay
it
him for
taken
that
care of.
tree.
Well, that's what I'm waiting to find out, are we paying for both trees? I
Yeah,
don't think we
we'll
should.
Find out.
No, yeah, but I'm working on that.
I mean, he should have made sure that he's cutting the right tree to start with.
Yes. So I said, I don't think we should be paying for both, but we'll let her work it out and see how it goes.
Work in progress.
Hey, Eli,
Oh, wait, I did have one on
I'll
Fox.
send you what I need.
Well, I guess it'd be old, I don't know if it's
this is
old.
old business.
Yeah, I don't know if it's old or new, about the ball fields down there. About all the, well, I think, as far as the contract we have with Barry, it should be dissolved.
That's old business.
Okay, because I had, you know, when I was asking him about I have his text message about the, fields down there, about who's taking care of what, and he's trying his hardest, and he can't do this, and he's paying electric down there, and I'm like, well, how are you paying electric when the electric comes to the borough? So I asked him today to show up here with his bills, showing that he's paying electric down there, and again, he didn't.
I think he does, I think he is paying electric, 'cause I think he have power put into that, concession stand that they built.
$600 a month?
Yeah, he says
I think
$600.
there's a meter on the side of that one, but we have 2 meters down in the park that we pay for,
We
plus
have
one at the.
Three.
One at
Pat
the,
said 3.
One.
I can only find 2, where's the third?
I don't know where the third one,
Is it on the
but
pump house?
No, there's nothing on the pump house.
there's 3 that we pay for at the park. The monument is separate.
Okay.
So his last, this was it when I was we were up there at the primaries. He was texting me. He said the partnership is becoming cost deficient, and he has way too much expense and no source of revenue because nobody rents the fields anymore. So if nobody rents the fields anymore, I say dissolve his contract and open it back up to the residents, to the kids of the borough, so they can play on them.
Who's gonna take care of them?
We will, like they did before.
How are
before
we
I
gonna
was-
be able to do
Before I
that?
was even on council. Everybody said that they took care of them down there.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Them fields
They
were
didn't-
horrible
They didn't
before
take
he
care of
came.
it to the point
But
They
that
were
they
all
are now.
The borough
overgrown.
cut the grass and everything.
That was it.
That was better
If
than
that, I
nothing.
mean, that wasn't even very
Yeah,
much.
we can go down there and manicure the fields or anything like
No,
that.
No, the fields
but
were all
the kids
overgrown.
weren't
But they were just
We
baseball
lost all of
fields
our
for fun.
teams over it. All the teams left here. We had no teams left, maybe one. Because them fields were horrible. If we're gonna take it over,
We're
we
not-
have to find somebody else that's gonna
No,
do it.
I
How are we
disagree.
gonna have time?
I disagree. We're gonna do just what everybody else does with their parks. We're just gonna maintain them the best we can. We're not,
And if
we're not
somebody,
in the business to make money out of that park. That's not what the idea is, to rent
No,
'em.
we need to kept somebody to take care of it.
right, and if somebody else wants to step up and
Yeah.
run that, we'll contract with them. and
That's what
give
I'm
them the same
saying. We
terms,
need to
yeah.
do something to keep them fields in nice shape. I hate to see them go back to the way they were.
Right.
It got to the point nobody was using them fields.
But he should be here.
I'm sure,
Yeah, he should be here.
I'm sure we could pass
I
the
think he's
word if
leaving
he's,
anyways.
if he
I think
quits,
he is too.
the people, the contacts, the teams, the groups that are doing it, if they're advised that, hey, Barry's not gonna be running this, does anybody else want to,
Yeah, I don't know what Kip's looking at.
yeah,
But the main thing is, since they put them brand new fields out there, right field in Chippewa, that's exactly where everybody's going.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cause they're brand new and everything else, and they ain't gotta spend the money. And that's why we don't have too much down there, cause I went down there and asked, people down there, Kip and that, and they're all going to Chippewa, cause of new fields. I agree, they put
Does
a
he-
lot of money into them fields down there.
Does he want out? Is he saying he wants out?
Basically,
can't
it sounded
find it. I'm
like
gonna
it
have to
was,
review
you
it.
I think he's
I
leaving,
think
I
he-
think
he
he
says it
wanted,
was
I
cost
think
of-
he's,
I think this is gonna be his last year.
and, he said he had, this is what gets me, he had someone down there, at the field that night, and then someone complained that he was disrupting, because he was weed whacking, they were disrupting the games. So that guy quit. Well, the guy's there, he's got a job to do, but,
Yeah, I think it went for 5 years, and I'm sure there's a termination provision,
I think he's not lived up to any part of his
mutual
contract.
notice.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering.
As far
I
as
mean, like
not
I
on-
said, the decision is, if you can't, I think he can get out. But if you wanted to keep someone maintaining the field, you could lock him in and say you still have to do it. But I'll look at that. But I don't know.
he might be maintaining the
Wait
fields,
till
but
the end of the
he hasn't,
Yeah,
from,
I think
I
we're up
don't
to
know
5 years
anything
now. I
else
think
he's
we're
done
almost-
as far
I
as
think that
done
there's
some
a
maintenance on the
written
bathrooms and that he was
proposal
supposed
has
to
to be
do down
turned
there,
in
but.
to me, saying that we're not going to renew the contract, blah, 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 blah.
We have to fight with them all the time to get the grass for weed whacking and.
No, we wasn't doing
Well, the
that.
grass is being cut. Jake's cutting the grass, but
Yeah.
Jake's not weed whacking. So Jake has been cutting the grass, but
But
he
it's
has
the
to get
weed
someone else.
whacking.
Someone else is he has to get someone else in there to weed whack. is
See,
what
we
he
used to
said.
do all that for them. We took care of all that weed whacking and all that extra areas. All he did was took care of the field.
But he signed a contract that
I
said
know.
he would take care of that.
And if he doesn't want to do it,
But at the
he
same
wants
time,
out.
we were doing it for him though.
And if he wants out, if someone's gonna step up, they will recontract with us, and it's gonna be completely different. They're not gonna take over the existing contract.
Well, the existing
No, they'd
contract,
have their
if he would fulfill it.
Yeah.
I don't
But
think
we
there's anything
really
wrong
need to
with
do
the
that to
contract.
keep them fields in nice shape. We have to find somebody, otherwise they're just gonna end up like they used to be.
And now they're putting another bench on the last field. I don't know who that bench is for.
Well, did he take
Oh, that
care
was
of,
Toy. I know Toy was
I
talking
don't know.
about. Did
Jim
he put a
Toy?
bench in? Jim Toy?
Yeah, remember she was up here,
That was last year or something.
she was
like
up here
that.
last year or
She's
something
just-
talking to
they're
us
just
about
They
it.
were talking about it. I don't
Yeah.
think,
Yeah, she got permission.
Okay.
Yeah,
So there's that, and then there's one from Jim, or Mr. Riggio.
Riggio, yeah.
But that's all I have.
I want to address something real quick for you. The noise ordinance, or should we wait?
No, I brought that up a couple times. That's okay.
I mean, this is it.
Did you like
I
that?
want to refer you back to we want to have one, no hogs running at large in the borough, so that's sort of where this one is, on how antiquated it is. Okay, you ready for it? As used in this section, this is disorderly conduct, that's what it's under, chapter 670, peace disturbances. As used in this section, public means affecting or likely to affect persons in a place to which the public or a substantial group of people has access, such as streets, transport facilities, schools, apartment houses, places of business or amusement, any neighborhood, or any premises which are open to the public. So you're public. And here's what it says. No person with intent to cause public inconvenience, annoyance, or alarm, or recklessly creating a risk thereof shall engage in fighting, threatening, or violent, tumultuous behavior, and here's yours, make an unreasonable noise. That's all you get. Oh no, that's not good news. It's not good news. There's a concept called void for vagueness, and when they wrote all these back in the 1400s, they really didn't think about that. And void for vagueness means if you aren't specific in your ordinances, when I was hinting to the public, open, that's they could exploit that vagueness the same way that they would probably say, well, what's that mean? What's an unreasonable noise? Typically, pardon me, you have a decibel ordinance, and we don't. I can't find it anyway.
Okay.
So we would either have to pass one, adopt it, and then, make it whatever reasonable decimal is, and then go after
Does this
them.
have to
Because
do with the mill?
yeah, I
Okay.
mean, and you know, I could say to the mill, hey, you know, we have an ordinance, and then they're gonna ask for it, or I can just say, hey, we have an ordinance, don't make any unreasonable noises. I just don't want you to get your hopes up on that
Yeah.
being,
I'm gonna try to talk to him to see if they can pipe it like around the back side of the building.
okay.
If they could actually extend a
Direct it
pipe
down.
onto it so it like doesn't like whistle towards my house. Like
Yeah,
at 3 o'clock
that
in the
was,
morning and
thanks
I
for that, by the way, I think I was at work, that was ridiculous. Everybody's like, what's going on in there? She sent me the noise,
A video.
on a
I just have a
wave,
nice video
by
of
the way.
what we listened to down there,
Yeah.
that pressure valve.
And it
being
is
released.
ridiculous, by the way. So anyway, I just wanted to leave it at that and say, it goes to what we talked about before, which is, I know we always say one of these days, but one of these days we have to form a committee, grab all of our ordinances and recodify. It's the only way we're going to be positioned to be able to enforce any of this stuff.
Gotcha.
Work in progress.
Yeah, I'll see what I can talk with them. Maybe I can get them to do some work.
Okay, now Eli, sewers and sanitation.
Sewers, 37th Street was lined, finally. That, problem that we had that I believe, didn't we allocate like 14,000 or 15,000? It came in at 12.6. So that was nice.
Yeah, 12,587.58.
Was it?
Was it?
That's all.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
However, our diaper backup across the street from me was $4,000.
Yeah.
Did you get any more bills from the house, that Ray house, or?
I don't know if everybody's aware of what he's talking about.
I'm not.
Ugh.
Off of Rock Avenue, where between
Above
Watergo,
Rock and 37th.
used to live, there's a line that runs up behind those houses. The houses on 37th Street don't go out to 37th Street, they run back behind to a sewer line back there. There's like 4 or 5 houses across the street
Four
from where Eli.
homes across from
Pass
mine.
That got all plugged up and backed up. So we had to have pipe company come in 2 days, maybe 2 days, to try to jet that thing out.
Yeah,
Cut it out.
they were really excited because down by Rock Avenue, they're like, oh, it's a PVC pipe, it must be new. It's 5 feet of PVC pipe, and then it goes to clay.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there's a group home right across the street from me. Wendy said when they finally cleared it out, there were a lot of not baby wipes, but adult versions
Adult
of baby
wipers.
wipes and other problems
Yeah,
in
well,
there. Brian said it would 3-4 years prior had the same kind of thing, and we had mentioned to all the people in the neighborhood that the 4 homes that feed into that line that, hey, it's not flushable.
Yeah, I talked to the guy from that home
Yeah.
specifically, and told him, you need to make sure they put signs up, and you need to make sure they're not doing this.
It's good.
Send them a bill, that'll take care of it.
Well, we had trouble with proving it
Yeah.
because we have 4 houses
Yeah.
down the road.
Yeah, we're not gonna do DNA analysis on it. But that came up with what I mentioned at the last meeting that we
Also, when that happened, when they were doing the flushing,
oh yeah,
they back flushed it. What's her name? I can't
Right,
remember.
I thought it was right, they,
the lady across.
There's a
from me.
lady
Yeah, I can't remember.
Not at the
back flushed it
not the
up
group
into
home.
her basement.
2 doors down.
Yeah.
So she had a bunch of sludge in her basement, so we're gonna be getting another bill. I don't know if she sent that in yet or not.
I haven't seen anything yet.
From her for cleaning that basement. It was,
didn't
I
know
went in
that.
there, it was a
Another
mess.
claim, huh?
Yeah, it was a total mess.
Okay.
But again, to remediate these kind of problems in the future, I found a list in 2007 where we had cammed
Borough.
the entire borough, and there were a bunch of listings specifically of heavy root balls, collapse, things like that. I talked to the guys from Insight and from Robinson on a non-emergent project. I'd like to get together for them next year to come and cam and cut those areas that were identified in 2007 that there was root infiltration. Just give them a bunch of locations where this problem is and say, hey, you know, at this really reduced rate because it's of no pressing issue, come out and cam and cut these places again so that we don't run into the same problem in the same places year after year, kind of preventatively. Rather than having $4,000 for an emergency call out, I think we could probably get them
Maybe for 2.
for a whole day for far less than that.
Cause that lady, that emergency, is that the same one down here? That alley right here,
No, that's different, what he's
Okay.
talking about, different.
cause
Yeah, this is the one across the street from me was at 4,000.
okay, 'cause there was one that we did not too long ago. She said she's still getting water in her basement, but that's just a
Why does it cost 4,000?
emergency.
It's an emergency call out, and there's
Emergency
Call out, and there was 2 days they were here.
two days.
2
of
days.
power,
2 days. okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
So
so,
it probably is new business, but.
Well, next
while
time,
you're
just
on
say,
tours-
next time, tell them, look, this isn't an emergency call out, but get here as quick as you can.
We also had to flush over here, beat down one in the alley, where Penner's goes, behind Brooks down to Penner's. Woman up here had water in her basement, so we called and checked. We had to locate the manhole down over the hill from the road. Beaver Falls sent a guy up to do that for us, Brian dug it out. And we had Robinson, was it Robinson that come up? Or Tri-State or something? Anyhow, we had a company come up and had to flush that out. That's a dead end line. Now, there is supposedly a manhole somewhere up the top of the alley. Did we ever find that? But we need to locate that. And I asked the guy that did the snaking out, he said he did hit a plug. He said, and all of a sudden all the stuff came out. And I said, well, how far did you get afterwards? He said, I went about 320 feet. Well, according to the map, the way it laid out, that should be the end of the line. But now, she just told Wendy the other day she's getting water in her basement again. I talked to her.
When you say water in the basement, coming up through the sewer.
I have to assume that, I didn't go in. I'm gonna
'Cause
guess
everybody's
something.
got water coming in their basements right
She was
now.
talking to me about, about putting a new line in from her house out to the sewer, to the main line out there. And I told her that's her responsibility, and I said, when you do that, I recommend you put a backflow preventer in.
I guess you could get those. Can you get that for a 4-inch pipe? Okay, I figured you could.
So she said she was gonna contact, but she didn't know what she had to do as far as the borough part of it. Because she has to go out to the alley, and, they're gonna have to dig up the alley to put it in.
Do we give street permits?
That's why I said, I believe we have to do a street opening. The
Yeah.
company that's gonna do the work would have to get a street opening permit, and that's what I told her.
That's an alley though, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like she has to pave it, they have to pave it.
No, just gotta put it
Dig
back
up.
the way it was.
speaking of street opening, who chewed up 3rd and 37th? It's gonna look beautiful.
Yeah, I went by there today.
Oh, I think that's Columbia Gas.
Yeah, it just needs
A couple different places.
Yeah,
Oh,
gas
they
or
just
water
got their base
company
layer.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, they had them marked out.
What's that,
like
Brian?
orange
Why was I
lines.
thinking it was,
or water company doing it.
something made me think it was a gas company, I
Yeah,
don't know why.
they're gonna
Because
save us
that
some money.
right at the,
That's nice.
that little, wherever we call it, store
Yeah,
across from me.
that was horrible there.
Remember when the water broke there, it washed the road out there underneath of it and stuff?
That's
what
why
they
it was like
digging
that.
out.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it is a water company then.
Probably is, but
It was
And
kinda
the water
nice.
break, it was a couple.
Okay,
years
Eli,
ago.
anything else on sewers?
That's all I got for sewers.
Ordinances?
Nothing on ordinance other than the burn ordinance that burned us.
I think we've been down that road.
Yeah. I was gonna tell them they could have came with pitchforks, but it's banned in the borough. I mean, torches.
What's what Chief asked me,
No
he's like,
torches.
what's going
No
on? And I
torches.
said, you might want to stay for the whole meeting.
Yeah. that's
Yeah,
why I said
really.
keep- All right, Bruce, building and grounds.
Looks like the ladies' room fixed. Just gotta put that commode in there, Lou said.
Got all 2 new commodes in there.
Both of
Okay, thank you.
them. Did you find the invoice for the
Yes,
cameras?
Pat already got that.
It's
Pat
already
taken
taken,
care
they
of.
called me today and said, you never got paid, and I said, well, there was a problem, we never got an invoice, I said, but I have it now. The check was already sent out, I sent it out on Monday or Tuesday, whatever day you gave it to me, I went in, I wrote the check, I put it out in the mail the next morning,
Right.
so.
Good.
It's all taken care of, and I told him in the future, I gave him my email address, and I said, email it to me, and don't fax it or send it, cause who
Right.
knows.
You know, 'cause when
That
he-
it?
yeah.
Eli, do you wanna say anything about streets in Louis Athens?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Next week.
Hey, I didn't leave
trying to
enough
remember.
space to go between you and
The
Bruce.
chipper.
Well, this would be Louis.
This is
Oh,
Louis.
this is Louis,
They should
okay.
Just
call
the
that
streets.
wood.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
now you're
Okay,
just on the
Eli
street
for
chip.
Louis.
yeah, the old streets, the chipper, they chipped, mountain of stuff, but I'm sure there'll be more coming. I'd like to get approval to purchase the tack coat. Tack coat is used to treat, once we mill out a section of roadway, we tack coat it before we put the cold patch on it. So,
Do you have a dollar figure roughly?
yeah, to buy a 55-gallon volume of it, we can buy it, but we'd have 11 5-gallon pails. The tack coat will be $165, plus then I'd need 11 5-gallon buckets with lids. I'm not sure what do they run, maybe $5 a piece?
Oh.
So, what are you saying? You do this so,
We mill out the
When we
street.
mill out road,
oh, so we are gonna be milling them then?
yeah,
Parts
we're
of it.
milling some of it.
Then
But
we
when
put
we
tack
mill it
coat
out,
down, put the fill
we
back
put
on.
the tack coat down, we compact it, tack coat it, cold patch it, roller it, and then crack fill around the edges.
So are we gonna be actually rolling it with a roller, or is he just gonna keep doing it with the Bobcat tires?
The Bobcat has a roller.
So we're not
We
talking
have a
about
vibrator.
patching then,
No,
we're talking about
this
doing.
is mill out
We're talking about
18,
patching.
36, 48-inch sections of bad pavement, pothole patch, bad pavement that needs to be removed.
And how far does that stuff go?
What do you mean?
That
The tack coat,
tack coat.
you just paint the bottom of the hole before you put
How
tack
far,
coat.
how far does it go, is what I'm saying?
Tack coat's like primer.
Depends
Yeah,
on
how-
how big the hole is.
It's a tar, right?
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, sort of like a-
So how,
Something like that.
if you do what you did out here, how much tack coat are you gonna use?
I don't have a clue. I don't have a formula for it. If
They
you
don't
buy,
have a square foot.
Yeah,
for
they'll
it,
have a
okay.
coverage probably.
It probably
That's
has
what I'm
something
saying.
on the container.
You'll probably use.
Cause you're
like
saying how
55
much it is
gallons.
for that, but
Right.
that may just do
well,
that little section.
55 gallons.
That's gonna go a long way.
When the fellow that came out to see what we were doing, he's like, buy it 55 gallons at a time. Cause you can go and buy 5 gallons and it's at a premium price. They'll sell you a 5 gallon.
I understand that, I'm
But-
just saying, you're saying how much it is for that.
Right, but
How much of
that's
that
enough-
how
that's a-
many of them are we gonna need?
Well, we'll go and I'll get the 55 gallons at a time, because I don't wanna get 110 gallons at a time
And how do we
and
put
come
it
up
down?
with a brush.
Just a brush.
Just brush it down. Like after you mill out the hole,
Yeah,
compact if you have to refill
So
anything.
back up to the height.
You know, leave 2 inches of space for the cold patch. And in that hole, slap down the tack coat on the sides, on the base, on everything.
and you're gonna do all this with a paintbrush? Or some type of small brush?
Like
That's-
a tar
Like
brush,
a
bucket
tar
brush.
brush, like an 8-inch
You
tar
know,
brush.
mop handle, broom handle stuff.
Yeah.
It just seems to me like we're gonna use a lot of it.
We're only milling,
Certain
I don't wanna
sections.
mill anything bigger than this table
Okay,
in a small spot.
okay, I'm thinking you were gonna do like long strips
No.
on the side of a
No,
road or
no,
something.
no,
'Cause
we're
I was
not,
gonna say,
no,
that
we're
ain't
not,
gonna go
no,
too far.
not with,
No.
no,
Just
this is
sections
just
at a
small,
time.
Okay,
small bad pothole sections that are all contorted.
but you know what, I'm seeing them put patch in and they're not even getting the holes cleaned out. Shouldn't you be like blowing the dirt out of the holes and stuff like that?
Should be.
Oh,
Should be.
Jeff's putting it in,
Well, that's what I'm saying. We're
And
putting
going
cold
back and
patch in
forth, and
now,
that's that.
It's a temporary patch,
Yeah,
because
that's
we're not doing that tack coat in it. And we're not cutting the edges of it so it doesn't slope up.
Yeah, the pothole patching that they're doing now is keeping you from hitting
A bigger.
a pothole and blowing a tire. It's a temporary
Quick
Band-Aid,
fix.
and it will blow out in time. But anyway,
Hold on a second. Did you have a question about this, Brian?
Yeah, I'm concerned with the, I understand as far as milling it out and putting the tack coat down, but using cold patch. It'll never stay.
You need a hot patch.
You need
we are
hot
not set up for hot patch. We are not set up for hot patch. Hot patch requires temperature sensitive, controlled application. We're milling small holes. Like I said, this should not be half the size of this table. It is the area that we're working.
Right.
We'll have a 2-inch-ish
But not,
region to fill.
Why don't you beta test? Why don't you beta test? Why don't you just try it?
Well, I spoke to the guy from Sealmaster,
Yeah,
and
we
I
don't
spoke
talk.
to a
soon as you
roadmaster
hit
from
cold patch
Rochester.
with a plow, it's gone.
And the Beaver Falls Municipal, when they do their patches all around the area, they do it with Highway's cold patch, and they roller it, and then they seal the edges. That's prime practice for addressing road openings. Now, we're going to do this on roads that, like I said, once they're all fixed, once they're all repaired, next year we're gonna come in and get a tar and chip kind of surface. Hot patch is difficult. We need to maintain the temperature. We need to lay it out with a paving equipment, not with a shovel and shovels and shovels and a roller. That's why the highway cold patch is much easier to handle. You can shovel it and it doesn't care what temperature it is. Going to a distributor and getting a truckload of hot patch and coming and trying to seal this and dumping it and doing it is going to really be bad. If you guys want to do that, fine, but I've put in a lot of education, spoken to roadmasters, guys that do this for a living, and this is what they've told me.
I've done it for 30 years.
Is the distinction that you're brushing that stuff on and the edges is the reason why it's not gonna lift so a plow will take it out? Is that the rationale behind why you're grading the edges? And I mean, I know nothing about this, but he's saying it will lift out. Is that just because he's thinking of cold patch?
He
You
may be
slap it
thinking
in,
of
it always
cold
lifts
patch
up, and he hits it with the plow and it comes
Yeah,
out.
cold patch in a pothole is gonna come out.
And again, if you don't saw cut it,
That's what I'm saying. Is that the
you
distinction?
get this
is what
clean
I'm-
edges.
Yeah,
You're-
that's
you're-
what I'm getting at. We're throwing money
You
away.
need to saw cut these patches, not
You
just
need to blow the
throw.
holes out, get the water, get the dirt out of them.
That's separate. That's
But still,
pothole,
it's all
right, that's
comes
pothole
together.
repair.
If you're not doing it right, you're not doing it right. You're throwing your money away.
That's pothole repair. We're talking cutting out the asphalt, compacting the base, and putting on the cold patch as a top coat.
Are you
Beaver
talking
Falls-
saw cuts or just
Saw
ripping
cuts.
out?
Saw cuts. Beaver
Okay.
Falls
If you
Municipal.
don't saw cut it, you're wasting your time.
Beaver
what I'm
Falls
saying.
Municipal, when they open a hole, 7th Avenue, when those guys opened that hole and sealed it,
Look at everything down here on West Third. All that patchwork they're doing down there, it's all saw cut.
right. But compacting the base, putting 2 inches of highway highway cold patch on it, rollering it, and then
Sealing it.
hot sealing the edges makes it a waterproof, solid pavement. That next year, we can get the tar and chip surface treatment over top of a solid pavement.
Do we have the manpower for all this?
Yeah, 2 guys should be able
Two
to
guys.
do the patching, the milling and the patching. Cause you're not worried about temperature control of your patch. So you have to hurry up and get it in and then have to have 20 holes ready and people lined up. Cold patch can be put in. And I've been to the same, some
When
of
you
the
go down to
classes
Beaver
he's been
Falls,
to,
you got 3 or 4 guys
this
on
is
them
what,
crews.
and this is what they're telling us.
And they
The
also
same
have
thing.
paving equipment.
Right,
We don't.
right.
Yeah.
So we
So
have.
if we're
we
just
have-
half-assing it,
we
we're throwing
have-
our money away.
We have no business
I think
playing.
we've been half-assing it, and I think that's the problem.
That's been like that for years.
Because I truly, if you don't, I've been telling these guys for years to saw cut, and they don't. Anytime you start going from this deep up to this, up to this, up to this, it's just gonna fracture and break out. Once it breaks out, it's gone. Once you get that little lip to start, it's gone.
Once they put the cold patch down, it's not even with the road, you got a little hump.
That's
And that's
pothole
why
patching,
it's
that's
taken
pothole
off.
That's
patching,
different.
totally different. Do not confuse pothole patching with.
What they're gonna.
I know what
with
you're
this.
doing.
Right, right. The pothole patch, that will come out, that's only a temporary, but you're right, Bob, that needs to be cleaned. Highway has said though, in a pinch, to solve that rut, go ahead and throw it in, roll it with a truck tire. It's better than hitting the big open hole. But don't ever expect it to last. It's just a temporary Band-Aid. We're throwing $10 in that pothole to keep from blowing tires and destroying rims. The true thing we have to do is mill it out, address the failed subbase, compact it, seal it nice, seal it up, and then top coat it. So.
I say let's give it a try. That's all you can do, just like
Better than
anything
what we
else.
got now.
Better what we have, better what we did have.
Well, it's a start. So if this helps, then next year you could go to phase
If it
2.
don't,
Well, they
You're
went,
gonna spend how much money?
they went to school.
Like I said, with this, just to get this tack coat, I'm looking at under $250.
You figure a
It
brush every day?
It can be applied as liquid fuels expenditure because this is purely used for road repair.
You better figure in buying cases of brushes, cause they only last a day probably.
Yeah, that's
Probably.
Again, that's
Yeah,
small tools that are
probably
used for
gonna have
road
to have
repair, which can
another
go to
blade
liquid
for the
fuels.
saw.
And then, yeah,
Blades,
blades for the
yep.
saw,
Blades for the
road
saw.
repair, liquid fuels.
Yeah,
We
all
do
that
have
stuff
we
is
do
good.
have a blower, right?
A leaf blower, yeah.
'Cause,
Do we have a tamper compactor vibrating
We used to.
thingy? Lou says, oh, yeah, we do. But
We used
you
to.
would
There used
know
to be an
because,
There used to be
It's
one.
about that big.
yeah,
Yeah.
take
Motion.
clip.
To buy.
plate.
what is it,
Like
jumping
motion.
jack?
Yeah.
wait a minute. I'll go
We
ahead
have, we don't even need that. You take you put the patch in the truck. One guy puts the patch in, the other guy rolls it with the Bobcat.
Right, but I mean, when we're dealing with the subbase, when you mill off that asphalt, you've got rock that's underneath that you have to compact. So we'll need that tamper to compact that stuff. Otherwise, that'll settle,
And you lose your hold.
and then the whole.
Well, then I'll make a motion and we go ahead and
That's
purchase
fine
it.
too, but you're gonna spend 8 hours on one little hole. Way you're talking
I'll second that, see if it works.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a motion by Bruce to go ahead and buy the
about. Well, 100 feet of road takes about 2
tack
months.
coat, seconded by Wendy.
All in favor?
Anybody else have any questions on it?
We have to,
As long as we get the workers to do it.
Okay.
I'll be there.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Mm.
Carried. Anything else for streets that you know?
That's all I got for streets.
I mean, the only thing I'll probably pass out, you guys can read this for next time, is just that Rochester Township ordinance, just so you get an idea. That's that opening one with the Ford
Opening
cuts.
permits?
You gotta pay, you know, whatever. We just talked about getting some ideas for improving our opening, road opening ordinances. This is theirs, just so you guys can see how people are thinking about this. Obviously, we've changed it.
You want that? You got one?
This is for the road opening?
Yeah, you'll see halfway in it. I don't, some parts of it confuse me because it says, you know, new roads less than 5 years. And then they say roads in general in the same subsection, so we'd have to obviously craft our own ordinance, but it's good to get the flavor of what they're doing, so we can discuss that at next meeting.
Is this like for what we were talking about before, if they open up so much of the road, they have to pave the whole road?
Yep.
That's the whole kit and caboodle, but it's in there, it's probably the last 2 pages, you'll see it.
And it's something back to.
Under new roads, I think it's opening new roads, okay? So that could be for a little homework.
Oh, homework, you always give us homework.
Man, you guys never read it.
But it's summer vacation.
Yeah.
I'm on
School's out.
vacation for 2 weeks, as a matter of fact. Bob,
Yes.
do you have anything for your stuff? Finance litigation?
My stuff.
Finance
I'm
litigation?
still trying to figure out what my stuff is. I haven't figured it out yet.
No, anything that you're working on?
Not that I know
Memorial
of.
update? We don't need to get into that, I think you've kind of already addressed that, right?
Yeah.
What's that?
The memorial stuff, you've already addressed that with the citizens, unless there's something else you wanna
I
say?
don't think it has anything to do with finance and litigation, does it?
No, but you were handling that progress.
Yeah, and I am.
Oh.
I actually went out and got a light the other day. My buddy come back up from Florida and Jeremy took him down. They were gonna do it and he goes, Dad, there's already a light down here.
Yeah, they put one up. Okay. Paul?
I have none.
For my part of it, The agility agreement.
Yeah, we discussed it at the last meeting, just maybe to bring Mr. Tate up to speed. So PennDOT has this agility agreement, and it's kind of like a barter system. And they have subcategories of things that you, at a certain time of year, you get together and you put this list together. And you say, hey, let's plan some projects. PennDOT will say, I need you guys to sweep the snow off the berm of the bridge across your 37th Street extension, whatever. And then you figure out and you calculate units and fair market value of the services. So then you say in turn, during this planning process, well, you PennDOT, you will grade this road surface for us, or you'll do that, or do this for us. So that's the gist of the agility.
I think we talked about this before, like we take over plowing 37th Street from here to there, and they'll do something for us.
Yeah, but what I was explaining is I was concerned from the liability issue. Pat checked with our insurance carriers. They're not concerned with the indemnification clause in here. But I think in order to sign the agreement, we'd have to probably make a resolution to enter into the agreement. And then what I was telling you guys was you have to get in there, and then by February or something, I forget what I said last meeting, if you don't plan ahead, then you don't get on their list.
Right.
And I think I said, did our moment pass until next year?
This year until next year.
Right, so we have a little bit of time to talk about this agility agreement, but if you wanna enter into the agreement, you have to, read this, review it if you guys want, and sign it, make a resolution. No ordinance is necessary, you have to do a resolution, and then appoint somebody to be the person that goes up there. Now, Bob, what I picked out from the different lists, because now they have a list, we can't do anything like grading or helping them do that, because their specs will kill us, okay? So they have property, snow removal and ice control, vegetation management, drainage and cleaning, so grass cutting. I mean, those are the things that I think we could come to bear and offer them. Now, there's a complex process, it looks like, for how you figure out what that value is. There's like a process that they value our proposed services, and then we in turn match their value of theirs, and there's like 4 different ways you value this to get the fair market value of the services. So I'm not too clear on how that works yet, but what I'm saying is, at first glance, from the perspective of the solicitor saying, does this look like it's going to get you guys into trouble or something? No, I think it's probably a benefit to you, and I think if you did anything, you should appoint somebody to look more into it on those other ends, like who runs the show, who can we meet with, to talk about how they specifically value it. Or
what can they do
reach
for
out
us
to
is
another
what
municipality.
reach out. My question.
The other part, Bob and council, is reach out to another municipality that's doing it, and then meet with them and say, how's this work in actuality? So my job is kind of sort of relatively done, which is, that's how it works. But to figure out the nuts and bolts and mechanics of it, I mean, we're gonna have to find somebody in PennDOT to explain this in more detail, or go talk to someone in a neighboring municipality and say, is it worth it? How does it work? How do they value stuff like that? Okay?
Yeah. So we're clear legally and insurance-wise to proceed ahead with movements.
But I mean, what do they have to offer to us? I
Well,
mean,
that's what he's saying, we need to
hold
go
it.
sit down and meet with them and say, what can we do for you, and what are you willing to do for us?
There's a whole list.
And there's a
yeah.
whole list of stuff there, if you wanna read it, you can
Right.
go ahead and get your copy of that, and then it'll tell you different things. They even talked about going out and washing bridges or something.
Yeah, they do all kinds of, they do cleaning, they do ditch digging, they do pipe inspection,
but we want
sign
something from
review,
them that-
painting,
Like
spot painting.
streets.
Lines on streets,
what-
berms, painting lines on streets, berms, stuff like that. You guys would have to, once again, your borough's a little bit interesting that you guys don't do active workshops and have active committees, so to speak. You guys do it as you need to, but that's what I typically recommend is during the borough workshop, why don't you get, this road committee to start exploring this more, but, I'm just telling you, do it whatever way you do it, because you need more information.
Yes.
Okay? You don't want to pay me for 25 hours looking any more than I have done. Want this?
I'll just take a quick glance at it.
No, you can keep that. That's just the contract and a little bit There's tons of others.
I mean, it has, it's.
Just go online and look at agility program, you'll see.
I've been trying to get old PennDOT to get signs to put on 37th Street about, you know, cause since the fire department comes out on the main road to warn people. I haven't heard anything back.
Okay, that's all I have under old. Do you have anything you wanna bring up under that?
Yeah, I think I do have, something under old, what was it? Oh yeah, Mr., I don't think he's here, but I'm just gonna mention it.
Yeah.
I wasted the borough's
Yeah,
time
here
on it.
last time about the
Yeah,
sewer.
so we had a guy named Bob Bork, he came in with some plans, do you remember this? He had
Yeah.
cocktail napkin plans is what I called them, and he, was sort of confusing us, like, what's he wanna do? So I did contact Mark Taylor, the supervisor out Chippewa, and I said, do you know what this gentleman needed? And what he said was, so he clarified a little bit. He said, Jeff, he goes, look, he wants to buy that whole land, he has to get approval by the Jehovah Witness people, and he doesn't wanna do anything unless he's okay. Our zoning ordinance require the frontage. So when he was saying frontage, I was thinking like there's some sewage foot front thing or whatever, but he meant that under their ordinance, he needs to have frontage, but they don't have any frontage in their municipality because High Street and the way this goes,
Right.
his parcel is completely in Chippewa, so he'd have to borrow our frontage on High.
Is that where that trailer sits back in there?
No.
No, this is all the way up the corner where Ryle lives.
Yeah.
That field over to the left.
So if you know where the Jehovah Witness place is,
Yeah.
on 37th Street, the parking lot in back like
Then you
that,
turn, go
his is a weird kind of elf dog leg kind of thing.
Behind it.
See? So that's the first issue. Now, Mark Taylor said, look, on the zoning issue, we said he called it a first review. We'll do a first review of his plans, and then we'll send it to you, and we'll say, hey, he wants this to be the portion. It's still gonna be our zoning regulations, and we'll, in the nature of a variance, they'll say, we'll count that as frontage. Even though it's not on our thing, we'll count that as frontage, okay? The secondary issue was, he wanted to tap into our sewer line, which goes down to the Beaver Falls water pollution control plant, and the other Chippewas goes down to Brady's Run.
Right.
So I
He
contacted.
would be paying us or?
Well, this is what I did.
Okay.
I
That's what we're trying to find out.
contacted Whitmer,
Yeah.
talked to Tony, what's his name, Tony Sabah?
Cause they're a lot more
Tony
expensive out there.
Tony
Sadaka. I talked to Tony, I called another colleague of mine, another municipal attorney, and I said, hey, where do I even start on this? Cause, sometimes you have to have joint sewer authorities, and their stuff is literally running downhill through ours. And I called Jim Riggi, I called everybody. Here's the answer. I don't think that it's a problem for us to let him tap into our system. He has to pay the $1,500 tap-in fee and do all that stuff. Beaver Falls is the water authority that's going to be servicing. So I called Jim Riggio, he goes, we'll just put on their meter, they'll meter and that authority will be getting the money. You understand what I'm saying? So he said, that's no problem. Chippewa said they wouldn't object to that because the crap's coming through our area. So, and I said listen, because the other issue is, can we just say no? If we don't want this pain in the butt, can we say no? And then, this engineer said, well, I don't know if you should discourage it. It's not going to hurt you, is basically what he said. Mark Taylor, I said to Mark, well, wait a minute. I said, what's Jehovah Witness doing? They have to have some kind of stuff. Where's your tap in there? If this guy builds something down the property, is he far enough from like your rules of 150 feet? And he goes, yeah, he has to get a self-contained system or something.
What's he building?
Or use a grinder pump to tap a house.
Oh, okay.
Maybe two. Okay.
Not a plan of homes or
No.
something.
That was my concern.
But he has to get a grinder pump, and then he has to.
If it's going uphill.
So I don't know how much he's doing it for cost. I think, obviously, because he has to tap into ours, and it's probably going to be shorter than if he has to go.
Yeah, all the way out and down.
And figure out with Jehovah Witnesses how he has an easement and all that stuff. So the third part of that is access, and what that means is he's not going to have access unless he has a common drive or something where the Jehovah Witness building is somehow. So High Street is going to be his access point. So that's, I think the other issue is we need to let him have access, and I can't picture that in my mind. You guys have to, you know, if he ever comes up to us, figure out what that means, and if that's gonna mess with your roadway, and how he's gonna come from that site on through High
The
Street.
access that he talked about
If there
was,
are curbs, how are you gonna cut those?
the road comes up, uphill and makes a right angle. There's also a gravel road that runs back to the Jehovah Witnesses. He was talking about, talking with Jehovah Witnesses, using that gravel road as access to his property.
Okay.
Is
Off
that
of
up
High
next
Street.
to Rouse?
Yeah.
That's where the gravel road is?
Yeah,
I
right.
never knew that.
The
If
very
you come,
last
if you
house.
come up from
Blackburn's
37th,
turn
Yeah,
left,
right,
right?
yeah, that's the road.
if you come up from 37th Street and turn right at Rouse, if you turn left, there's a gravel road that runs
Yeah, that's
behind
what I'm saying.
Jehovah Witness.
'Cause we
That's
use-
what he wants to use for his access,
we
which
use
is in
that for
Chippewa.
LC.
All that's,
Okay, is it good?
All that
that
on that
stuff
side of the road is Chippewa?
Yeah,
It's at the very top of the map.
the way it's diagonal.
I thought the guy that
Yeah,
was
right
in
here.
that first house down there with the
Nope.
chickens, that came
this is
here
the
for
borderline here,
permission.
but all this back
Yeah,
here that
he's
he's
West
talking
Mayfield.
about,
Where does
this
it
is
turn
all
to
Chippewa. See the dotted
The
line?
next house over.
This
That's
is where,
what's so weird about it, yeah.
see, this comes right here and then comes in.
Yeah. It's
So
shaped
this,
really
this, all
weird.
he's gonna do is come straight through here and into his property.
Okay.
So he's supposed to come to the meeting tonight, he didn't, so I just wanted
He may
to
have
report
dropped
that
it.
to you. He may have dropped it.
Yeah, because I think he said it was contingent on the church hierarchy approving the
Yeah.
sale to him, who's a member of the church.
When he told Mark Taylor, we said do whatever, we'll do whatever. I said, he said, we'll do whatever they want. I said, no, that's not what we explained. I said, we told him we'll table this. and
Okay, so that's your.
But would that have to be a
business?
road or just his driveway?
His driveway,
It's right over there.
but it's gonna be in Chippewa. He's just gonna enter it from our roadway.
Right, okay.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Okay, new business. Wendy. Monica. Eli.
Nothing.
I think we did a lot-
Sewers, ordinances, nothing?
I think we did a lot of that.
Bruce.
Nothing.
Bob.
Unless we're buying something, I don't think I have anything either.
I think we have any.
If we're
Or you're getting
litigating
litigated,
anything.
that's right. You're getting sued.
Okay. Comes to me.
Mayor?
Oh, that's right, forgot the pen. You got something? New
Is
business?
our lines for the cameras in the back here installed yet?
Yeah, everything's up and running.
Everything's up and running?
Yeah.
That's all I have.
All right, under new business for me.
Oh, actually, I guess the recycling thing,
Yes,
which
do
I
that.
sort of went over. That second Saturday deal, I had a mountain of stuff that I threw in. Bruners would love to bid on our, garbage
Garbage.
plan when they do it. Like I said, I had a mountain of plastic bottles and tin cans that came out that he's like, that's 50 pounds. They bill $50 a ton. He's like, I'm not even worth sending you guys a bill for a couple of dollars for that. So he was pretty cool about it. Specifically since the cardboard that he takes is pure profit for them. And us dropping off that cardboard, they love that because that's revenue for them. So they were quite happy with
And we're
that.
getting his receipt from them,
Yes.
so we can turn it into.
Goes on a scale, and I got tickets that show all the pounds of cardboard we've had. And we've done that program for the past 4 months now. So I have receipts for several hundred pounds every month.
Okay.
Goes down there, but
Good deal.
that looks good. But he was saying about, oh yeah, you guys could get the recycling bins on the grant. Everybody thinks we can do that, but as I said earlier, that's something we'd have to pay for up front, and then maybe apply it for next year's grant out. And I'm still waiting to hear back if we got approved or whatever from the grant that I sent at it's the end of March, I think. State's not terribly fast, but we'll keep moving it.
Well, question, since we're on recycling, are people allowed to have a fire ring?
Yeah.
As long as they have a cooking fire.
Yeah,
No,
that's
they
what I
are
mean.
not
A bag
allowed-
of marshmallows.
They are not allowed to have a fire ring and just burn. It has to be a cooking fire.
Because we're getting asked, this way everybody's clear with this,
Yeah.
because
So when I'm freezing out on my deck, in the winter smoking, I've gotta have a marshmallow out
Right,
there
that's
so I
right.
can light my.
I'll lend you one if you need it.
Yeah.
You know, there's another way you could,
Marshmallows?
there's
I
another
got
way you
one.
could
You
skin
can
this
get a
cat,
propane
but
heater
remember,
set up
there's
Huh?
another
You
way.
get a propane heater set out there.
But listen, there's another way you can skin the cat, but I just wanna let you know that, I mean, look, I will listen to what he said. I looked at several ordinances, and I don't know how you can still have open burning and get your qualification. So, if Mr. Pegg was correct, I'm not averse to changing it, or asking you guys at your pleasure to amend it. But it says an outdoor fire may be maintained for cooking purposes using charcoal, wood, or gas fires in approved closed containers. So it says approved closed containers. So what's that mean to?
I'll
So
approve
you
it.
guys could make a vote and say we approve fire rings as long as they're used for cooking. But let me caution all of you, because we were joking, just for the public record, a little bit on some of this stuff. So we're not encouraging, I hope, any citizenry to violate the ordinance. There's some wiggle room in the ordinance, but we're for sure not going to go back to the citizenry and say, ignore this and we're not going to enforce it, because that would be a mistake. Okay, so I would say if you want to do anything, just say we're going to approve fire rings not to exceed so much in diameter if they're used for cooking purposes, and do a resolution, and that would be something that would maybe keep the citizens
That kinda
happy.
get us past
If
it.
anything beyond that, saying to them
Well,
you
my
can
fire
open
ring
fire
looks like a burn
and we're gonna wink, wink, nod, nod, look the other way, I'm gonna recommend you amend and repeal, as opposed to not enforcing your own ordinance.
I agree.
Okay?
Because I had people come to the fire hall, and this girl was complaining that the neighbor called and turned her in for having a fire ring, and every time there's a little piece of smoke, the police are up, and they said they don't, what is our fine line? Are
So they actually called the police,
Oh, yeah.
There's been several instances.
And
so we're gonna have to amend then, cause
what
I was,
fine line?
it's
Is it?
one thing if we're gonna look the other way. Okay, that guy's
Can't
got a
look the
little,
other way.
they're having a little party and they're having a little burn ring there, and
It's
But
gonna be
if
worse.
we're not gonna look the
next
other
meeting
way,
if
then
we
we
start
need to
selectively enforcing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
Look worse.
my
You
fire
can't.
ring looks like a burn barrel, and it has a drawer that comes out for your charcoal. And on the top, you slide the thing to cook on, but it looks like a burn barrel. What do you do?
well, I have one that's that big around
Yeah,
that I bought at Rural King, and it's got the thing that slides over, it's got a cooktop on it, so that's an approved burning.
No
ring.
doubt.
That's
Or
Yeah.
approved,
You have no
burning.
problem with that one.
okay.
but now you got neighbors fighting because they think this one turned them in, and they're, it's just,
What I said, it has to be for cooking.
yeah. I said, did you have marshmallows out there? We walked in the house to get marshmallows, the police were there, said, put it out, and I'll be back to make sure it's out.
See, that we need to let the police know what's going on
We need to
too,
get a copy of this ordinance down.
because
I
if the
just
police
hand-
think
I-
that
I
there's
handed
no
the chief
burning
a copy of
period,
the ordinance.
Alright, so he's got
And
it.
he said, so what is a cooking fire? I said, it's huge and gray. He's like, great.
has flames coming up out of it.
Yeah, so.
Bill, if you guys make any amendments to this stuff, get that information to Kevin. It's not getting there.
Well, I'm
According to
gonna
Kevin.
ask for Kevin to come to these meetings, cause I don't wanna hear that we're not getting him the information. He needs to come to this
Yeah,
meeting
cause
so he can
Eli
get.
sent it to him, and Eli sent me a copy of what he sent
Right,
to him.
he told me all
but he's
about
saying
that.
Before we adopted,
No,
oh, after.
Uh,
I mean, I think the folks, this is none of my business, cause I'm your solicitor, but I think the folks had a good point. If that is possible, to when you guys give me approval to run it, to say, notify his son and put it up.
yeah,
I mean, I was gonna say, I was looking at the website too, the one thing that I do wanna discuss maybe with him too is, I think there's some truncated, like there's a list of ordinances, but they're not the total ordinances. And that's good just to give them an idea, but I think he needs to put on there like, this is a summary, because that gives the impression that's the total ordinance. And that might have been what brought a lot of people here too, because it just said no burning. I don't think it had the part, I have to
yeah,
remember again.
it didn't.
About this exception. So, but I agree, and I agree with the mayor to a certain extent that if nobody uses the paper anymore. The newspaper of general
Yeah.
circulation
It's-
used to be where everybody looked,
Yeah.
and they don't. So
They have it on the
the
website
point
now.
is well taken with the community that unless they come to these meetings, they don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Cause a lot of people
So-
don't have computers, so they don't get on
Right.
Facebook, they don't have the website.
I don't get on Facebook here, and I have computers.
You know, some people still get the newspaper, but
Okay,
Beaver
so if
County-
they don't get the paper and they don't look at the website, how are they gonna know? And if they don't come to the meeting,
And the borough code,
how are they gonna know? How do we
borough
put it
code
out to them?
indicates that we must
Then let them
publish
come to
in
the meeting. Let them
newspaper.
come to
That's what I
meetings
said.
like it did tonight.
That's what I said,
But we're mandated to publish it in the newspaper,
which you did.
which we did. That's our mandate from the
I
borough,
think that's
yeah,
what
from
keeps the
this.
Beaver County Times in business is the
Oh, yeah, what they
mandated-
charge for those.
mandated fees for that and,
Yeah, they're
Obituaries.
gonna have to change the statute, that's no longer public.
You know,
Anyway,
guys, this,
Alright.
all this stuff like went on tonight, I've been with this borough for 43 years as a councilman and a mayor. These are not new problems. Everybody has their own opinion of what it means. Everybody's gonna try to, not everybody, a lot of people, they wanna interpret that ordinance to suit themselves, not the official ordinance like it should be. And that's the problem we have. Everybody wants to put the blame on somebody else.
And for us to advertise and send a letter out every time we do any little change, it's gonna cost us a gang.
That's
But
right.
so
you
now-
know.
Here's the thing though.
$300
You
every
know why
time
we
we
did
change
this?
something.
Do you know why we did this ordinance? Because they don't want you burning leaves no more. They don't want you burning your papers. They don't want you burning your cardboard. They want you to recycle it.
Right.
Going out and having a bonfire at night isn't affecting any of the recycling. Maybe a handful of newspaper or a cardboard box, a small pieces of cardboard box. That's not affecting our recycling, having a bonfire.
Well, it's gonna come down to this. If you're gonna recycle, we're gonna recycle, and we have to go by the ordinances as it is stated in order to get the state.
But who stated that ordinance? Who wrote that ordinance up?
He
But that
did.
was- that was
You
the
didn't
mo-
get that from the state.
but that was.
Oh,
the
you
model.
bypassed it
That
through the
was the
state to
model,
make sure it was
and
approved.
It had to be.
It had to be
And they had to get
modified.
it approved by the state.
The original
And
one had to be
we
modified.
had this whole conversation when we first did this, because I know why we had this conversation, because we said open burning means open burning, leaves, any kind of fire pit. We went through this because we talked about, you know, what do? Do we just then not enforce it or look the other way? We did this whole thing, but I want to let you know that my information from council was to eliminate and ban any open burning, and that's what I did.
And that's the only way we
But-
can meet the state
But
requirement.
once again, I think you guys should always listen to your constituents, and if Mr. Peg, you know, I'm gonna look at the Patterson one, and if I'm gonna call her, and
Patterson
if she
Heights.
says, yeah, if she says, yeah, hey, yeah, you can ease this up, I just don't see it happening, but, you know, I've been wrong a zillion times before, so.
Well, I got rid of my burning barrel. I just used the cooktop, or the, you know, the.
Okay. We ready now? I got, like Brian gave me this paper from, I guess it's 811, is that this then? They're asking for our utility maps for 37th Street. The only utilities we would have out there are basically is our sewer lines. So I've got the maps here, I'll fax these over to the gentleman. I talked to him and he said there's no hurry, no rush. He said this is a preliminary thing, it's not gonna happen probably till next year anyhow. They just wanna try to get as much information. I said, well, as far as water lines, gas lines, he said, yeah, they've already sent maps and stuff in for that. So, that's what this was all about. I'll take care of that with this. I had Brian make me copies. I gotta call the guy to get the fax number and I'll fax this over to him. So that's that one. This one here is a letter that was sent to me. Dear sir, in spring we love to spend a lot of time outside in our yard, both working in our yards and flower beds and outside of with our friends and kids, eating and enjoying the weather. We live in the southern end of College Hill. Everybody understand where that's at? The southern
Down
end
the
of
bottom
College
of
Hill.
College Hill, right?
Well, that's up on the top, but it's
That's
down past
north.
the ball fields,
Yeah.
up on the hill. There are
Okay.
a number of people who ride their motorcycles and quads up and down across the valley from us, sometimes down the middle of the tracks. Often the trails just to see the side of the track. It's very loud and bothersome and can often last into the evening. I wrote to Beaver Falls City Council last year and they said they have no authority in West Mayfield. Well, from the middle of the tracks east is all Beaver Falls. So they're riding in that valley, which is English Road. That is not us, that is Beaver Falls. I'm curious if West Mayfield has any laws that prohibit the riding of motorcycles, quads within the city limits. There are quite machines that are very disruptive.
There are a lot of bikes.
Oh, I know.
Well, they're hauling quads up here now,
But
and they're going down.
this is something that I can't do anything with, because this belongs to Beaver Falls.
Right.
He lives way down, West Mayfield didn't even go that far, where he's talking about across the tracks would be White Township. Coming up down 12th Avenue.
What do you punt it back?
So that's all I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna send it back and say, the area you're talking about is not West Mayfield. It is be from the
They're
tracks
coming
over
through
to
West
Beaver
Mayfield. I see them all the time. Dick
Oh, they fly
Blues.
past my house over all the
Dick
time.
Blues grandkid.
Well, we have an
Mine
issue
too, actually.
with the quads in the park, they're tearing up the park.
They come through
Riding through
your,
that
your
quads
road.
out down there. They're putting ruts down through there. I'm sure Brian could attest to that, 'cause he has cut the grass.
Chief just told me here just a little bit ago that, they arrested them kids that, was riding them bikes.
Good, good.
They're actually coming, you know where the guy's talking about building up
Mhm.
across the road
Yeah,
for me?
around your bend.
They're riding up there.
No
Yeah.
They
way.
come down the road right beside us that's blocked, that's closed off
Oh,
with the thing.
oh, Ho Chi Minh Trail?
Yeah, and they come right down there, and I've seen them,
Yeah.
because one day I was like, did that dude just go through my yard? Because if he actually went through my yard,
Yeah,
we were
but
gonna have an
like
issue,
Mhm.
because I was gonna go after him.
You should put up a fence about this
But-
high.
Yeah, this one,
But they're-
yeah.
Well, everybody else is putting fences up.
They're
No, I
wanting
just
to
mean-
That's
throw-
okay, Eli, if you wanna kill them.
But they're towing
I
them
don't
in
think you're
here
gonna,
on trailers and unloading
gonna
might,
put
them
a
here.
might change your mind after that.
Hey, just run a wire across it. When
That's
they
right, I'm
go-
just gonna put a wire
Grass is
across.
a little greener with fertilizer.
Yeah. Alright. Another thing I got here, Pat gave this to me tonight. This is from PennDOT. And they're talking about, we'd like to take the opportunity to inform the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation plans for 2019 pave and repair projects, Beaver County. So what they're talking about is Route 251 or 37th Street. If you look at the map that they provide, they're gonna come up from, West 4th or Route 18 all the way up to, Oakville. They're gonna veer off of 37th Street and go out Oakville. That's what they're showing us here. And that is in conjunction with that other paper. So they're just letting us know about all this.
That's good.
They don't know when, but
Yeah,
They didn't
just,
give
it's
us
scheduled for
specific time.
2019. Or 2020.
2020.
I was gonna say this year, woohoo, we're gonna get done this year.
No, next year. I have another piece of information.
I was gonna say, if I could jump in on that, might be able to piggyback a little bit of work off of the PennDOT contractor that's doing the paving. I was thinking like 10th Project Road
Yeah, I'm gonna do expand out and
might say, hey, while you're doing this, can you give us a quote to,
let's see, that's where part of the agility program would have been nice.
yeah,
To
go
say,
up, go up.
do this while you're here.
Well, it'll be a
And we'll
PennDOT
do this.
contractor, not a PennDOT crew, but maybe see if they'd give us a quote to go up, that big driveway going up into Project, Road.
What's that?
Yeah,
What's
West
that?
10th, that first couple hundred feet that's, yeah, we can't mill that out, that needs,
They might just do
Professional
it
crew.
just to
Well, I
make
get
it
it.
look good.
they won't,
They won't
they
just do it.
won't do a damn
Uh-huh.
thing, but I think we might be able to,
But if this is gonna happen next year, this is where I'm saying that agility program,
yeah,
that could be one of the things we address. When you're here, do this, and then, you know, what services do you want us to provide you in lieu of?
Yeah.
That's why I think that's gonna help us, huh?
I'm just reading.
but yeah, that might be something to try to beg.
Alright. Pat sent me an email.
Sorry.
Pick this paper up. Earth Disturbance Inspection Report.
Yes.
Wilson Avenue complaint. And it's talking about overcast, rain in the morning, blah, blah, blah. Basically, this is where the water, if you remember, we changed the drainage up there, took that trench ditch out. Actually, White Township did it, we just worked with them. And put all those 5 drains in, and the guy was complaining about the water. Well, he's been going to White Township, but apparently not getting any, what he wants done. So he contacted DEP. They went up and looked at it and said there's an issue. I contacted this guy, or tried to contact this guy. He's out on vacation till Tuesday, which is the day I leave for vacation. But I leave in the afternoon, they're gonna leave a message contact. I was concerned because it says failure to take action to resolve the violation may result in administrative, civil, and criminal penalties being issued by the Department of Environmental Protection as defined in section 602 of the Clean Streams Law of Pennsylvania. Clean Stream Law provides for up to a $10,000 per day in civil penalties, up to $10,000 in summary criminal penalties, and up to $25,000 in misdemeanor criminal penalties, blah, 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 blah. But I've read this whole thing twice, and it tells me all the information, but it doesn't say when it has to be done by.
You know why? Because you have to submit it. The way they're doing it is, they want you to, so that's why we have to get the engineer, because
Well, here.
they're telling you what to do. Well, look at the front. See.
So is this
on
is
the
on
front,
us now?
Well, on the front, they're saying permanent plan requirements.
No.
So none. And then public road construction, and they're telling you that you have to take that out and make a ditch. That's all they're telling you to do.
All they're telling us
That's
is that.
not
That's what I
hard.
was gonna get to. Here is compliance assistance measures. Temporarily remove the stockpile riprap from the pipe outlet and immediate downslope area. Excavate the area so that the elevation is lower than Wilson Avenue and have the capacity to run off and then put back the riprap. Now, White Township, this is pictures, I don't know if you guys wanna see this or not. White Township is the one that put all that riprap in there and trenched that out. I went to their council chambers, or what do you wanna call it, supervisor office, talked to their secretary. They did get a copy of the letter as well. I said, well, what do they plan to do? She said, I have no idea. She said, I think they're holding off till next month. They're having a discussion at the next meeting. It's an easy fix to do that. I contacted Ray Evans, who's one of the supervisors. He said, yes, it's real easy to do, but they're having troubles trying to decide who's allowed to tell who what to do. This is why we didn't get into that mutual agreement with them. And so two people say yes, one says no, and the one says no carries more weight. That's their issue, I don't care. All I'm saying is, you guys put it in, the water's coming from your authority, your streets, you guys need to fix it. He said, I agree. So, that's gonna be my comment to this guy whenever I talk to him, if I'm able to talk to him Tuesday. I'm sure I'll be able to talk to him even if I can't call him.
Even though they put it in, is that where they're showing that along the side of Wilson? Is that on borough? Is that in our borough?
I don't know exactly where the line is, but they put it in there, and he agrees that they should be removing it and fixing it.
But that's why they probably mentioned both of us. So we have to determine where that is.
Yeah.
Because it no matter what they did, if
But
it's in our
what,
borough
what
property.
they're saying to do is,
It's easy. It looked easy.
I talked to their street guy. He told me he can do it in 4 hours.
Yeah.
Unless your battery's going dead or something.
So,
But would we be able to, if it is on our in the borough, would we be able, just because he's our resident, would we be able to fix it, bill them for our labor time and our hours that we did?
Who built White Township?
Yeah, bill White Township.
if it's on our property,
That's what I'm saying. I mean, just so we can take care
I
of,
don't think we can bill them for our property.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
but
When
for
you do
something
these-
that they did,
when you do these joint things, I mean, is it worth it? Come on, guys. You have to look at how much cost you're gonna put into it.
They cost it.
And if
Give
you,
them time, see if they're gonna
to
do it.
enforce
right,
them.
but they're
Yeah,
not gonna
that's-
take care of it either.
That's my
I mean,
point.
so
I'm gonna
that's the
talk to
thing.
this
I mean,
gentleman
if
and tell him exactly what I said
Can we
here.
just do it and
They
send
put
them
it in, I
an
talked to one of
invoice
their
for
supervisors,
at least
he's
our
agreed that
man-hours?
they should fix it. I said, I gotta wait for, my hands are tied till see what they do. I told them, I just don't want us to get fined. They said, oh, no problem, you're all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
that's what I'm saying.
And
They
that's
said
what
it
I do.
before.
I'd get this veto person to,
Well, he's out until Tuesday.
I know, but I'd get him to step on them and say to him, hey, we're willing to work with them to get this done, but they have to contribute too, and then he'll step on them a little bit.
And that's my game plan.
Right on.
That's what I have as far as new business. And we already talked about the Sewer West 8, and about paving.
One thing, while
Yeah. Go
you're,
ahead.
Pat and I pestered the fine folks at PennDOT. They have a super secret form that we have to record our borough employee work hours for liquid fuel compensation.
Does that mean plowing?
No, that's for the work they're gonna do on the
Any
road,
work, any work that they do on the road.
Oh, okay.
and we'll pay them out of liquid fuel.
They talk about this form all the time, but you can't find it anywhere on the PennDOT website, but she talked to her liquid fuels people, and I talked to the PennDOT Municipal Services guy, and they shot over a really nice spreadsheet
Mm-hmm.
that's password protected, so you can't do
Can't
anything
change
with it.
Well, you mean you can't fill it? You can't fill it with data?
You
No,
can
you can't
fill
alter
it,
it.
Oh.
but you can't, yeah, it's really
Can't
not.
manipulate it to make it fit your
Yeah,
functions.
and
So-
you know, you've gotta use the code, so please use the codes.
Yeah, I've got the codes to address it, and,
Please.
but it lists out to have 18 different people on one payroll period. So I'm trying to modify it and copy it and do that, so that we could at least record all the street repair work on that form, so that we could.
So you have to go over with these guys and let them know exactly what the,
They already do their daily log sheet, and so I copied that, and I'll just move those hours appropriately. So that also will take some of our budget labor expenditures and
Put it in liquid fuel.
put it in the liquid fuels. So when we exceed the budget for some things, we'll cover it by taking liquid fuels money for it.
Bill, you didn't decide anything on this, do you?
What is it?
A census.
Census construction.
No, it's up to you.
To me, you guys do the business. I don't have a chance to veto it.
No, that's up to council.
That's what I'm saying. That's,
What is it?
that's your
If that
decision.
census it was talked about
That I read
Pat read
about
about
the
that
construction.
2020
It's
How much new
total-
construction do you have between that bracket of things that's
I
been
don't think we have
I mean,
any.
that's what I'm
Left up
saying.
here.
Nothing.
I read it and I'm like, I don't think you
It
have
doesn't
anything in
even
that
pertain-
sweetheart
no,
period.
we don't.
We have very little new construction.
Mm-mm.
Although we're getting a new house over here, and
I think it should be put in the records, council records, that we do not wish to comply with this.
it's not a comply, we don't
Or-
have to
or-
be
It's
involved.
To
fallen.
involve,
Participate.
be involved.
You got that?
have you guys been hearing about, I think, is it Brighton Township now that's put a tax on their storm sewer?
Yes,
Is that for that MS4?
Yes.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is that,
It's legal to put a tax on for storm sewer water. Yes.
and how do you,
How do you meter it or tax them? What do you do?
or do you just,
Don't know the
I think
exact
it's
parameters.
a fixed,
I think it's a
fixed.
flat fee.
is it? Because I thought, I heard somebody talk about, somebody had a lot of property or something, they were gonna be charged.
Beaver
according-
has it too.
It might be.
Yeah.
According to the value, it's like,
Is that gonna come down to that here, that we're gonna have?
I'm
to-
hoping not.
I mean,
I would like not to put any more taxes on the citizens.
you have more houses
know.
up for sale.
Did you say Hopewell Township?
Right.
Brighton
Brighton.
Township.
Does it? There's a couple of them.
Brain app.
Brighton and Beaver.
They got all the money up there.
But yeah, that tax is out there, and I think whenever went to Mr. Marshall about this originally, he told us we can put a storm sewer tax on it.
Yeah.
But we don't want to, trying not to hit the citizens with any more taxes. than
Throwing
we
that
need
into
to.
like municipal authority. Is adding that.
And is there anything new on the road down there, Brooks Street?
We're gonna get some, we're waiting on, the people down and doing the destruction down in Beaver Falls on 7th Avenue and that. I don't know if that was talked about last meeting or not, but they approached us about dumping down on Rock Avenue dump. The DEP got involved and said they can do it as long as they don't go over the hill. They can raise the level of the plateau, but don't put up over the hill. So we told them they can do that, and they're gonna start dumping, but then I asked them about getting us some slabs of concrete, like sidewalk stuff, that we could use for walls, and they're gonna do that, but it's gonna be later in the year before they get to them.
So they're all gonna be like, that's what they're doing, they're tearing out all the sidewalks?
They're tearing out 7th Avenue, they're gonna redo the whole 7th Avenue Beaver
And
Falls.
they're gonna give us enough to
Yeah, he said he'll
they're
bring
gonna
out,
be
he's also gonna bring us
consistent
up.
size, so they'll all stack nice?
I don't know if they'll
No.
be consistent.
Cause they may say, shit, yeah, we'll get rid of all this concrete and give you a pile of concrete.
Well, I I mean, even if they give us riprap, concrete riprap, if we dump it and hold it and use it rather than paying for it.
Yeah, but
There'll be a purpose
Yeah,
for
but
it.
what?
you're just gonna dump piles of concrete? I mean,
Well, it'll have to be in those,
Cages.
riprap will have to be in those cages, what do you call them?
you're not gonna put
Doesn't have to be.
chunks of concrete in there unless they're grinding it up.
Well, that's what he's
And
talking
making
about, riprap like is in that picture. You
Yeah,
have a
but
big chunk.
Normally, you don't see them full of concrete, you see them full of limestone or something.
Yeah, them are the cages.
Yeah, that's a totally separate.
Alright, maybe I'm thinking of something different.
But the other thing they're offering is the
Yeah,
asphalt
millings.
millings.
They're gonna bring us up all the milling, once they start to mill up the asphalt, they're gonna bring us up all the millings that they can and dump them up here somewhere. And that's great work to put back into the streets and alleys and stuff
Yeah.
like that. That's almost like putting pavement down sometimes. So we're gonna take advantage of that.
I had one more question. I asked Brian about Ann Street, my end of Ann Street, it's all washed out. And I asked him if he could bring me over a couple ton of the slag. I've got my own machine, I can spread it. It's where it comes off right by Tom Morrow's house, down into my driveway.
I gotta find you, Bob, I don't know where the heck you're at.
About a foot up.
Harbison, Ann Street, right there.
You're talking about this? Talking about from here,
Mm-hmm,
down?
mm-hmm. Wait, let's
What,
see.
now, you're,
And,
This is it.
okay,
Yeah.
see 37th
Yeah,
okay,
or 36th?
right here.
Yeah.
So I
From
said, you're
there,
talking from here?
yep, down towards 37th, and it stops, and then it curves right
Well,
there.
it doesn't curve. Somebody owns that property. This is a paper street that goes all the way down to 37th Street.
Okay, and it curves. It's an alley goes around there.
No, the alley's up here.
Okay.
There's no alley
he needs
here.
to ride down and see.
Okay, it's
I
a
know
paper
I know-
alley.
No, it's not paper.
It's
It's
a-
somebody's property. It's got
It's
lot
mine.
numbers.
It's mine.
Right, then this is your property. This
Right.
goes straight down, this goes straight down.
Right. But right there where it says 40,
Right here?
yep, right from there down to the S, it's all washed out. And I asked Brian, Brian said, Lou said that I wasn't allowed to have it. And that is Ann Street. I'm the only one that uses it. It goes into my driveway, which is down below the T in the street.
Yeah, it
My-
comes down,
that's
it
where-
goes down to here somewhere.
Yeah, that's where it curves and goes into my garage and goes around to the other alley.
It comes up to this alley.
Yeah.
I know there's an access point here.
And he says
But
I
you
can't
must have
have
put
it.
that in.
But that's actually Ann Street. And I offered to spread it myself, which I've gotten it in the past. It's like what? $10 worth of slag, couple buckets.
I don't know how much you want, yeah.
Well, enough to fill in the ruts. It's a 2-ton.
What's council say? It's not-
Or
it's
you
not-
can just
it's not
come
my
down
decision.
and actually take care of it. You know, I'm the one that's always maintaining it.
Do we plow that too, Brian?
Mhm.
Okay, if we're plowing, then we need to maintain it.
Right. It's just a bunch of ruts right now.
Okay?
It's not an alley. It's Ann Street.
Oh, I know what it is.
But it's worse than the alley.
It's right there. As I said, it comes down here. If we're plowing it, then we need to maintain it, my opinion. So, we're gonna need to maintain it, we need to put whatever we need to put in it. Anybody else have an issue with that?
Get it on record.
I'm writing it.
She is.
Okay.
There's no issue? Okay.
That's 3/5.
Wagner, just to, when you talk about streets, did you get any word from the water company about that one street I was telling you about? Were they gonna come out and fix it?
I never spoke to the water company about fixing a street.
Last 3 or 4 years, it's when they put that pipeline in, they dug it up and everything. If you go up the road, up towards my alley, like everybody calls it my alley, but it's not. The road's like this.
Well, if your road is plowed, then it needs taken care of.
But the water company is the one that did it.
Then call the water company.
Well, we can call the water
Yeah.
company, if they tore it up.
Yeah.
They did, they tore it up, they replaced the
Do you
line
remember
underneath.
when? Do you remember back when did they do it? if you can remember, you can give them a date, and they can look it on their record, say, oh yeah, we did, we forgot. But if you could remember
I brought it back to council even before I was on it. Of course, well, you know, you had a president sit there and tells me, shut my damn mouth, I can't talk.
Oh, that was before, he's not here no more.
Let's just deal with what we got here.
But what I'm saying,
If it's an issue, find out, we'll have to find out from the water
it
authority.
is, cause when you're going up the
When
road.
they did it, if it's an issue, then it needs to be
Right,
looked at and corrected.
because when you go up the road, they paved it, but now where they paved it at, okay, it's what, you know how you put the pipe in, and it's paved, but now the road's going like this.
Is that by Grandma Sana's house?
Yeah, as soon as you
Yeah, on
come
Walnut
off of,
Street.
Okay.
yeah, Walnut Street, like I said, you go up
Walnut
there,
above-
and it's going like this.
That's been
Well, that's
about
not the only
10
road that's
years.
going like that. We got several roads doing that.
That's been about 10 years,
And one over by the school's doing it too.
which is going down Lennox and going across the poor people's house. Again.
I'm just saying, I mean, it's, when they dug it up,
I'll
they
go
come
down a
in.
little and we'll look, see what's going on.
Yeah, cause like I said, it's just when
It's
you're going
gonna be in a
up.
couple of weeks, I'll guarantee you that.
Yeah, you,
'Cause I'm going on vacation. All right. Need a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Ratify purchases made by committees.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any other business that needs to be talked about? Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
Aye.
Anybody object?
Aye.
Anybody gonna object?